All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Kape versus Horiguchi 2, taking a look at and giving our predictions for the upcoming UFC Fight Night, Fiziev versus Torres. To do all of that with me, as always, the man, myth, and legend. You know him, you love him. If you mess with him, he will put you in a Scottish twister. His name is Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, brother?
I am very, very good, of course. I appreciate Thinker once again. He's gonna give us a great show. But I just want to say it is Monday. We had fights on Saturday. It is going to be a great time to talk about them. There's a lot to run down, but at the same time, this was the shortest event that we've had in a really long time, right? So I feel like there's maybe not as much as we should have to talk about in that sense. But go ahead, lead us in.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you make a good point. We come off of an abbreviated event at the White House, 7 fights on that. And then we have this one and so many finishes on this card. Really, they've been speed running the UFC lately, which, has been pretty cool to see. And with this one, some unique finishes as well. So that was definitely an interesting element to this thing.
Well, I find it very interesting too because I felt like at points, and maybe obviously, it picked up towards the latter portion, of course, but I felt like at points this was dragging a little bit towards, with some of these fights. And then they actually had like a decent desk portion where they just went to the booth and, but again, by the end of it, I was like, holy shit, we've ended like 2.5 hours early than we normally do. Like, what happened here? So it was pretty
Yeah.
nuts.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get into all of the individual fights, of course. So just so everyone is aware, because I think that I had said it, and the schedule, either I was not correct in what I thought I saw, or maybe more likely is just that it seems the Paramount Plus is kind of on a big make 'em up when it comes to the Ultimate Fighter. Now, we thought, at least I thought, that they were releasing an episode on Sunday on the day of the White House card, and then they were going to be releasing the subsequent episodes the Tuesdays thereafter in the next, like, the week following, like the week that where the week starts on the
Correct.
Sunday, but the one after. Turns out that they released it on the Sunday and then also on the Tuesday. So episode 1 and 2 came out in the same week. 3 is also out now. And then 4 is coming out tomorrow, I believe, right? So
Oh, okay. So that is actually even funnier. So yes, I guess I will be running down 4 episodes potentially for tomorrow.
then that's where I was leading to exactly. So yes, so we're going to be having. Well, no, wait. It's one,
I
two.
think no, I
It is
think you're
3.
right. I think you're right. No, I'm pretty sure 2 and 3 have already been released. I'm pretty sure.
Well, we're going to figure it all out tomorrow. So I just wanted to let everybody know at the start of this thing, if you are interested, I already did episode 1 of the show. Chase has not done any of them, but we are going to be doing watch-alongs on our individual channels for The Ultimate Fighter to get ourselves all caught up so that we can talk about it on this very show. So tomorrow, I will be doing the episodes that are out that are not episode 1, and then Chase will be doing all of the episodes up until this point, correct?
Yeah, and now that there is 4 episodes on my plate, it potentially could be we'll do 1 and 2, and then we may come back for 2 and or 3 and 4. But we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I'll catch Thinker Stream, and we'll get a rough estimate of where we're lying on the how many episodes are out kind of deal. Because if we get on there and there's 7 episodes, it's like, all right, well, what the fuck, Paramount?
Well,
Like,
yeah, I say, and exactly the way the Paramount has been doing things. We used to do it where they would air it when it was on ESPN. It would air like as if it was on television. We could do a live watch along with it. That is no longer the case. We don't know when they actually come out. It seems like it's at random. So who knows? But either way, we will figure that all out tomorrow. So just a little bit of a teaser for that. And also wanted to mention another little piece of housekeeping. New episode of the show Yama that I do is out on the channel right now as well. If you've not seen it, no, it's a little bit late, but it's about the White House card, and you can check that out if you have not already.
yeah, absolutely. Everybody, make sure to check out Thinker's Gamma episodes. These guys. These are exquisite. These are the good episodes. Obviously everything is good content on his page, but when it comes to the Yamba episodes, everybody is rightfully always on the edge of their seat when these come out. Like we're ready to go. So, and we're ready to go to war for him when it comes to Yamba. So
I appreciate it as well. All right. Well, that all being said, Chase, anything else in the combat sports world that you wanted to talk about before we get into the UFC? Did you do any other watching this week?
I did catch up on UFC BJJ. If anybody wants to go do the rewatch, I do have a successful rewatch timer now. So they are you can replay them whenever you want now, and you can watch the event on YouTube for free along with it, and it should be a seamless experience, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you did that because I also did that this week. That's an odd coincidence. I don't know if that was a cosmic thing or one or the other, but
I heard it on your stream. You know, I'm normally always there listening, and I'm pretty sure I hopped in there, and you were like, "Guys, I figured it out." The stream, and I was like, "Damn, he just." In a week's time, you know, I've been sitting here struggling with it. I threw it out the window. I was like, I guess it's just not fucking possible. I guess we're just never gonna have a timer. And he was like, I figured it out, and I was like, oh shit. And then when I looked it up, I was like, oh, it's just a checkbox. I was like, ah,
well,
oof.
mine's a whole. It was a whole further thing with a script and all this kind of stuff. So it was a little bit of digging that I had to do. But yes, so good. Then both of us now have working timers. What a novel concept. So yeah, go and watch Chase's rewatch of the BJJ card. What'd you think of it?
BJJ is actually, listen, guys, you go check the stream out. I have a big in-depth reason of why I love BJ. I have a newfound love for BJJ. Of course, you know it is grappling submission is very very interesting to me. You know, it is the chess match, of course. You know, there's just it was a good time. You know, there was a lot of finishes. We're getting to a really good groove. Like the last few BJJ cards that I've seen, like we've had the dominant champs, of course, and then we've had very good people getting finishes underneath. You know, yeah. Shout out to Bella Amir. She was on it. She got a finish.
She's been doing a bunch of those. I think she's been
I
doing
think
pretty
she's 3-0
well.
now.
I was gonna say I don't think she has lost, so that's really great. Yeah, I'm sure Frank Mir was there as well.
Yes, he was. I didn't think he was at first, but then when I saw him, I was like, "Gosh, that dude does still look like Frank Mir." You know, goddamn, like he's son of a gun.
Still going strong. Well, yeah, congratulations to Bellamere. How did Gilbert Burns do?
Oh, he won as well. Yeah, he was actually. It was very dominant. It's actually pretty crazy. Like he's planning to go for the belt. You know, he made it very clear. You know, I didn't. You know, when it comes to the UFC, like my goal was always the belt. So now I have new goals when it comes to the UFC BJJ. So I'm very excited to go for the belt. Is kind of what he was saying, but it was very good performance. I mean, he finished him in the first round. I mean, it was easy.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations to him as well then. So good deal. All right. Well, it sounds like you had a good time with the BJJ. So, I know that you are going to be doing more of those. So yeah, if you're interested in UFC BJJ, Chase Parton's your man. Make sure to go and hang out with him for those.
Absolutely. And the last thing, we briefly touched on this before the stream, but we'll go ahead and say it, to you guys. There is a new show called UFC Rivals. I know you have seen the commercials most likely. It is streaming on a service right now called Philo. If you want to check it out, go for it. We potentially in the future will watch these, but these are stories that we are all kind of familiar with, and maybe getting the sit down perspective will be interesting. But for the time being, what we're thinking is that we'll just do a rewatch later on, as these are stories that have lived on forever, kind of deal. Not necessarily something that a story of a current fighter kind of deal. Like
Sure. Yeah.
and actually, speaking of, now that I say it like that, unfortunately, when it comes to that, we did lack when it came to the Ilya Taporia documentary that dropped right after the fucking White House, which that probably didn't age very well. So we definitely should check that out at some point. If everybody's out there, if you're watching, if you want us to step on the gas when it comes to MMA on film, there are your options right there for getting us to go. So just make sure to like and comment on that one.
Yeah, and you make a good point with Ilya Taporia one specifically. What I like about giving a little bit of time for those types of things, like that, the Connor documentary, obviously there's a couple of those, the Spider with Anderson Silva. What I like with when it comes to that is giving it the time so that when we do watch it, like at a later time, farther down the road, that we have a new perspective on what we're looking at in that period of time. Like it's almost a time capsule at that point. Obviously, the sport changes very quickly. A lot of things happen rapid pace. So when you give it a little bit of time to breathe and sort of, air itself out a little bit and then see what, happens there after and going forward, I think it gives a little bit of a unique take based on what we know, in current times. So, but like you said, Chase, I mean, if you guys want something specific with MMA on film, we both love doing it. So let us know, give us your opinions about that, and we will get back to it.
Absolutely. And then I guess the last thing before we get going, if that on my end, that's the last thing. Is there anything else that you would like to run through?
Two things. One, I did want to mention that I watched Deep. We are big fans of the Deep promotion around here, Japanese MMA. It was fun. It was long. It was a very long card. It was after the UFC event, so we were up very very long time watching Deep. Not as great as the first Deep card that we had watched. We watched Deep Tokyo Impact the first time. This was Deep Osaka Impact. So a little bit of a different vibe in Osaka. I was not as good, but still great. Still love Deep. So at least wanted to mention that. And the other thing I wanted to mention, and I know that you have your own opinions about this, so we probably should talk about it on this show. The new ranking system just came out. Kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think that we ever really got a heads up that it was going. I mean, we knew it was going to happen at some point, but like I didn't think that they were saying it was going to happen now. So yes, the rankings have been updated. We've got the AI rankings, the meta rankings, or whatever.
Let's pull it up.
All right, we can pull it up.
Sure, I just sent you the link right there.
All right, well, I got it.
So what you guys will see when you get on here, I have not been on here personally, but I have seen a lot of screenshots of how this works. There is a media rankings page. So if you look at the top right, there is media rankings and then meta rankings. From what I am aware, it is flip-flopped right now. The button is wrong.
No. See, I think people are getting that confused because I have heard that from other people. Okay. When it's toggled to the one that it's on that, like
is it black or white that it's toggled on?
Black, I believe. So it's right now. It's saying that these are the meta rankings, and if you want to hit this toggle button, then you'll go to the media ranking.
Okay, so click it. Oh, and then at the top, media panel rankings. Okay, you might be cooking here, Thinker. Okay, so take us to the meta rankings.
Certainly, there we are.
Okay, do you want to just brief overview, break down each division? Do you want to do something different? Do you want to?
I don't know if we need to go through all of them like one by one. I mean, I think that a lot of it is the same. I think that there have been a number of.
Oh, you think a lot of it's the same?
Well, I mean, I have. That's what I was leading to. I think that there have been a number of key changes, though. I don't know. I mean, like, we can if you want. Do you want to just go through them?
Let's at least run down some interesting ones that I notice off the top of my head. So Kevin Borjas comes in at rank 10 of flyweight.
Yes, amazing. I mean, he's what now? 2 and 6,
2 and 4,
2 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then right at number 11, you get Mitch Raposo.
I guess recency bias is the meta recency bias rankings.
and then Sumer Darji come in right after him. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, he had the no contest in his last fight, but I mean, does that really count? That I guess I don't know how they're rating these things.
Yeah, Mitch Raposo and Kevin Borjas, and then you have Sumer Darji. I mean, like Sumer Darji, we know is actually kind of talented or whatever. When you get Borjas and Mitch Raposo, it's like, how the hell are these two dudes ranked above him? What have they done?
It asks the question: what exactly are the metrics that Meta is using? I mean, do we have like a breakdown of how these have all been decided? And also, it looks like they're updating pretty goddamn quickly too, because I mean, obviously here Kyoji Horiguchi is at number 6. He used to be number 5. And
we've done it. Oh my god, we've done it.
What have we done?
Bantamweight, Hani Barcelos ranked number 8.
I saw
Talbot, that. Not even fucking ranked.
Yes.
We've done it.
Yes, I saw that. That was actually the first thing that I saw when I brought this up. I was like, Hani Barcelos finally getting the shine that he did. We talked about that a bunch on the year-end wrap-up last year,
And then holy shit, is Cheeto just not ranked anymore?
I got perfect. Fucking A.
Okay. I mean, and then Montel Jackson is ridiculous, by the way, but we won't even talk about that.
Hanging on by a thread.
Okay, let's see. Anything else? Oh, the one that is really great to see at number 9, Nathaniel Wood in featherweight. We've done it.
True.
We've made it. We've made it, guys.
Again, that's one of those interesting things, right? I mean, like, now he is coming off of a win, so that does make sense. But like, or at least it makes sense that he would be somewhere in there. But 9 over Kevin Vallejos, interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, again, what are the criterias for these things? You got Joanderson Brito, who just recently picked up the win. I mean,
look at number 7.
Pat Sabatini. See, I need to know what the actual what is the makeup of this? How are they decide? What is this computer telling the widgets over here to make all this happen?
Okay, all right. Let's move into lightweight. So we have Quillen coming over Patty. Patty was just fighting for the number 1 contenders fight in a main event, so that one's pretty interesting.
Wow.
Hoofy's just 1 spot over Dan Hooker. I don't know if that's questionable to anybody, but sure. Manuel Torres, by the way, he's still in the rankings, but just being, I don't know. I feel like he should be ahead of Tom Nolan since he's about to have a main event spot. Is that not a vibe here?
Yeah, right. And I mean, I'm looking over here too. Am I missing Fiziev on here? Not on here.
Yeah.
So your main event is now number 13 versus an unranked fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the guy who's the unranked fighter has just fought the dude who's the champion in his last like two fights.
This is like they took
Three
the
in a row.
rankings and just put it into like a blender. You know what I mean? Like, just they splattered it all over the place.
Let's see. I'm looking at welterweight now, and
Okay.
nothing really seems too crazy here. MVP being 12 is interesting because he's not necessarily a welterweight. He's a middleweight and welterweight. So these
Sure.
guys, like a Kevin Holland's, can also be interesting if he ever ends up in the fucking rankings. I doubt it. Not already looking at it, but this one actually doesn't look touched too much. Kamaru Usman at 10 is also an interesting one because he's going to be fighting at middleweight. So
D
it,
Rod still being on there after being in prison for 8 months or whatever.
Yeah, he's a main event fighter. Come on, he's ranked. Come on.
Good
All
point.
right, let's take a look. Middleweight. We'll just take a quick glance. Bo Nickel coming in ranked 12, right under Christian Leroy Duncan. Um,
I'm okay with
mm,
that.
okay. What about
I,
Renier de Ritter? What about him being under Bo Nickel at
um,
50? At 50.
yeah. I mean, look, man. I don't know. Again, I don't know what the actual way that they decided all of this, but we talked about it on the show. I mean, Renier de Ritter is still he still needs to avenge the. Oh no, he did have a fight since the quit on the stool, didn't he?
Yeah, and he lost
And
again.
he lost. So okay, then never mind. Yeah, that's a little bit crazy.
Let's see. Okay,
I
nothing
like that
else
Ikrom's
too.
still on there.
I don't, because why is he?
Yeah, no, it's kind of a good point. Well,
Um,
he won his last fight though, right? Wasn't that Iron Turtle?
he did, but that was after getting knocked out and sitting out for a year. It's also probably been like a year since he did that against the Iron Turtle.
True.
So
Yes.
either way, all right, we'll go to light heavyweight. We'll see what we got here. Paulo Costa at 4 at light heavyweight. I mean, fair. I think he's actually a pretty good option here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, TKO win over Azamat.
Jan Blachowicz at 15. All right, I've seen enough. I've seen enough.
I mean, but it's light heavyweight though, as opposed to what? You know what I mean? Like, who are you going to slot in there? Except for Evo. Evo Baranchevsky should be there.
True. All right. Fair. And then all right. Well, and then we'll look at heavyweight, and then well, I guess we still have the women to look at, but we'll just take a quick glance
Yeah,
here
we're just going this broad overview here.
Vitor Petrino at 10 for heavyweight. Walter Walker at 11. Both of these guys. I mean, Walter Walker actually should be a lot higher by the standards of the AI. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Walter Walker should be like in the top 10 easily. I mean, like high in the top 10. He should probably be like number 6, I would say, yeah, over Rizvan Kuniev. Come on, yeah, absolutely.
And I personally believe Ryan Spann should be higher than fucking Mick Park and Mario Pinto and probably Brando Perisic, but that's just my opinion.
Brando probably is all right, but Mick Parkin definitely.
Yeah. And then let's see. Okay, just running down to the women. These
Yes.
ones, um, let's see. Anything out of the ordinary? Nothing too. Actually, Talita Alencar coming in at the 15th ranked.
And that's what is that at yeah, it
A
was
strawweight.
strawweight, sure.
Yeah, I kind of like this. Unfortunately, Denise Gomes kept her fucking spot here. How is Piero Rodriguez 6th ranked? Holy shit! What are we doing
Oh,
here?
because Piero Rodriguez still out here kicking ass. No, did she wait? Did she's coming off a loss though? No.
I don't. I mean, win or loss. I mean, we can look into that another time. But being over Tabitha Ricci is not right. Right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean Ricci lost her last fight. I think did she
she's about
not?
to. She did, but
I,
she's about. I mean, she lost to Virna though, and then
true.
she's about to step up on short notice to face Fatima Klein.
Also true. Yeah, I do love
Uh,
seeing Mizuki on there. Mizuki, the most inactive beast of a fighter of all time.
yeah, yeah, she definitely is just gonna never be seen again until 2029. But Fatima Klein, Jacqueline Emery making the rankings. I think these are valid here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Moving on to the next one, Eduardo Moira being over Casey O'Neill doesn't really make sense to me necessarily. I
This
would
is
say right
women's
now.
bantamweight we're talking about, of
This
course.
is flyweight next.
Or excuse me, flyweight. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Miranda Maverick being 11th ranked is pretty nice. I think Wang Kong being maybe right above Miranda Maverick might be okay.
I
I
think
think
that's
that's okay.
fine. Yeah,
Um,
based on her last, even in her loss, she still did great. So I mean, that was
I
I'm okay
can't
with that.
I can't say that Tracy still needs to be 8th ranked after
No,
her last few performances.
yeah, I mean, I can't even believe that an AI is giving Tracy Cortez pretty privilege. This is crazy.
Facts. Jasmine at 6. I mean, to be fair, with a no contest, she could have been unranked. By the way, with her last performance, if we would have caught whatever she was, we just don't know how to investigate when it comes to Canadians. But that's
True.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, ridiculous that how that went down. But um,
Actually, if we're basing this all off of like performance awards and accolades and stuff like that, whatever the case may be, how is Rose not higher? That's interesting to me.
yeah, again, we need to know what the criteria is because, like, Rose is, the career has just been kind of all over the place. So, what is like, where does this start as far as like what you're taking into consideration?
Yeah,
How
and
are certain
then
things weighted? Because I mean, Casey O'Neill coming off of a knockout, I think that she'd probably be able to jump a few slots, right? I mean,
right over JJ Aldrich. Come on,
over
she
JJ
literally
Aldrich.
didn't even fucking win her last fight.
That the fact that JJ Aldrich is
Jamie
in
Lynn
these
Horth, where
rankings.
she's at, obviously she lost to JJ, but like,
That's what
she's
I'm
not doing
talking
it
about.
though.
Yeah. So there's definitely some wonkiness on a couple of these for sure.
Karini Silva being ranked, when this is supposed to be based on the stats, this is crunching the numbers. All she does is have submission attempts, and you know how those are gauged in this sport. Like she gets two a match when she goes for 15, and like they are pretty good subs, but they don't count for anything. She's barely even a striker. How's she ranked 14 by the,
Well, I
or
mean,
I'm sorry, 13 by the standards here?
for sure. And I mean, we'll shout out everybody in the chat in a little minute, but I do see Grayson coming in here asking about bantamweight, saying how is Luana Santos ranked third? Luana Santos is third off of lay and pray people.
Oh, we're gonna get into a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
this, of
we
course.
will. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Michelle Montague being eighth ranked after two fights, one fight.
Two. Oh yeah. I mean, she had her debut and then she fought Myra. But still, yeah, no, you make a good point. It's women's bantamweight. You know how that is. But like that is crazy. It's a high number for that. This is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all of women's bantamweight though. Like every one of them is in the rankings.
Yeah, but Melissa Croden being right under Michelle Montague, I don't really love it. I think it would actually be better flipped. Carol Rosa still being ranked after the performance that we just saw, probably not even valid, but we'll leave it at that. Daria Zalesniakova, and then
For,
Raquel Pennington.
former champion Raquel Pennington is number 15 ranked
She's
in the new rankings.
she's retired, man. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
has to. I mean, that I was actually. It's funny that we bring her up in this context because like at random sometimes names will just pop in my head. Hers did, and I was like, where the hell has she been? I mean, she
yeah.
literally was champ and then disappeared off the face of the planet.
Yep, but it's, a lot of these are not necessarily too far off the track of where they should be or could be. Some people are interesting making the fucking rankings, like with flyweight, somebody like a Mitch Raposo, when you go back, when you just look at another overview, just picking somebody out, you could say things like, how does Mitch Raposo make it over somebody like a Cody Durden? And Cody Durden obviously is not on the best streak or whatever, but when it comes to like performances and striking numbers and, blah, 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 you're taking finishes into account over this, where are these people that are actually doing some Edgar Shirez? Like, are we serious right now? Like, is
Yeah,
he not even on the fucking list? Like, I will murder this AI.
for
Like,
real, dude. That's pretty wild.
I'm gonna hold a gun to my toaster's head for this shit. Like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, I guess let us know what you think about all of these changes to the rankings. Obviously, the media rankings are still there. That's another thing that I'm curious about. So, like, I mean, do the media rankings matter at all anymore? Like, are they a part of the equation? Is it strictly going off of the meta as to what
Did they
we?
ever matter?
I mean, they mattered enough for people to be able to say this guy is number 4, this guy is number 3. I mean, what are the fans supposed to be like? Are we supposed to take both into a consideration now? If I'm talking about Brendan Royval, am I supposed to say he's number 4, but then like he's 4th ranked, but then I go
Well, the
over
AI ranks him 5, brother. I mean, come on. Like, what are you
well,
talking about?
Brendan
I don't
Royval.
fucking know what it is. Yeah,
That's
4, whatever it is. But you know
that's
what
what
I
I'm
mean? Like,
saying
it's
though.
like
Right? So
you could throw
go.
that in any argument. It's like, bro, Brandon Royval has done this, this, and this, and that. Well, the AI ranks him 8th. Well, the AI says he's fucking not good at all. And
Well,
that's for anybody.
that's what I'm trying to say is that like how do what are we supposed to be gleaning from this now that we have basically two sets of rankings? Like
Yeah.
what's the takeaway, I guess?
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how this goes moving forward for sure.
Absolutely. So, take away what you will from it. Now we brave new world with the meta UFC rankings, but they're there and you can peruse them at will. So,
Yeah. But now, absolutely time to go ahead and shout out the chat. Sorry,
please
it's been
do.
it's been a long-winded intro for what we have going here. But yes, Mank, thank you for being here first. Obviously, you're my guy. Jeremy Hall, you're a beast. Sam, you're a god. Grayson, you're the man. And yeah, Luana is not. So we'll get into it.
Certainly will. All right. Well, then I guess that is enough of an intro. So let's intro this card that we're talking about. This is UFC Fight Night, Kape versus Horiguchi. It took place at the UFC Meta Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Chase, what were you thinking coming into this one?
This one I was thinking coming into this that it should have been happening in Japan. There should have been a crazy cool fight going down in Japan, but it's the Apex, so I'm not going to complain too much because we get fights, and like we had talked about before, we get a very compact showcase here, and I really appreciated the extra time out of my day. Like, wow, the sun is kind of still out by the time it was over, and a lot of things happened. There was a lot to talk about, so I'm really happy that we're here.
Same. Yeah. A lot of times I don't go too deep into researching the upcoming cards, and this was certainly one of them. Of course, the White House card was the week before, so there was a lot going on with that. Talking about this card on this show with you was one that really, like, as we talked it through, I was like, man, this is actually like, there's really potential for this to be good. And I think that we got a delivery of that. And, mostly, I mean, there's a couple that are, maybe not that, but we'll talk about them individually, of course. But overall, I was excited about this one. So happy that it went the way that it did. So let's get into this thing. And as I scrolled down, I saw Meat Rocket come in, and right there, right after we shouted out the chat. So shout out to you, Meat Rocket. You're the man.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, starting this shindig off over here was newcomers to the organization. Shane Collins, he fought Otari Tanzalovi. Chase, what did you think of this fight?
Well, to start first, I don't know if you caught it, but our guy Shane Collins was an alum from the Combat U system.
I did not catch that. How about that? Yo, shout
Yes.
out to Combat U, man. We got such love for Combat U around here. Uriah Faber, I'm still waiting for my t-shirt.
Yes, absolutely. No, this when they said Combat U, my ears perked up and I was like, "Holy shit." And I was sitting here thinking, I was like, "Well, which one are they talking about?" And then I was like, "Well, let me not think it's the Georgian guy. Let me rightfully assume it was Mr. Shane Collins here." And what I actually really appreciated is like he brought a vibe that I feel like fit what Combat U was. Like this dude was really just here to fight. Like he didn't look like he was trying to make the biggest moment of his life. He wasn't emoting. He wasn't, obviously his opponent kept doing this shit. After a while, he tried to give it back to him a little bit. But Shane Collins really this is a good fighter here. This dude came in with a really good skill set. As green as the record may show, he was definitely game for whatever was coming back at him. He might have got taken down a lot more than he should have, but it's his first pro UFC, whatever UFC bout, whatever you want to say. We obviously see chinks in armor. He knows what to improve on. Georgian guy, come on, he's gonna get some takedowns. Like, let's be real. So Shane Collins, the things that he was able to offer, obviously the striking was looking crisp. He's mixing up targets, going body, going high, and he was the toughness really. I mean, this dude really came in to play, and I really appreciated that. The Georgian guy, for a while, it's one thing to try to do the wave on, bait your opponent into kind of fighting with you, but this dude could not fucking help himself from emoting so much, bro.
That was my big note. That was the first thing I had in the notes. Gotta love a guy that emotes all the way through his ass kicking. Because I mean, this is really what this was. This guy Tanzalovi over here. I mean, like, it's like you say, there's the whole point of emoting to an extent is like it's like that little extra cherry on top when it's like, yeah, I'm really clowning you right now. You know what I mean? It's a signal to the audience, to the judges, to anybody who's watching that, like, that I'm winning this fight. Look at me. I'm doing it so much. I can do air balls and shit. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. It never looks good when you're doing that, when you're taking the amount of damage that this dude was taking. Because you're right. Collins was looking sharp in this fight. He came in with good pressure, I thought, early. I mean, you could definitely tell, like you said, he's obviously green. There's definitely things to improve. I thought that the pressure was a good start. He needed some time to open up, which he did over the course of the fight. Early in the fight, he looked a little bit hesitant. He started to get his sea legs. He started to open up a little bit more, and it was looking good. And this dude Tanzalovi is trying to do all of the these takedowns. I thought that Collins actually had a lot of good answers for these like lazy level changes that Tanzalovi was trying to attempt. That was my note of that. I'm like, this dude is emoting. He's getting touched. He's not doing a whole lot of striking. Then he goes for these like, kind of, again, lazy attempts at single legs, and Collins just has an answer for it. So you got to respect the level of confidence to be emoting that much, I guess. But when it's coming with an ass kicking on the other side, maybe not the greatest idea.
What I will say to this though, for somebody who was watching this, because I picked a Georgian guy. I picked both Georgians to start off, whatever you want to say. And so Shane Collins, when I'm watching the initial round, like the first round, round and a half, I'm like, okay, most of these shots Otari is shelling up. These are hitting gloves. He's rolling. He's doing fine. Okay, he's waving them on. Okay, whatever. And then we get to the second round, and it's like, all right, he's mixing up the targets enough where you're shelling up, but you're still getting points landed on you and you're not returning fire. This actually was one of the better fights of the night. I actually think this should have, when I first saw this, I said that's probably going to be fight of the night right there. I mean, that was decent enough, but I think Otari was the reason that they potentially didn't get it, because in all the moments that he should have been trying to win, he fucking emoted 37 times, and Dana don't really fuck with shit like that. If you're gonna be in there to fight, like let's get it on, let's do the shit. So probably the reason they didn't get fight of the night was because of Otari's kind of performance here. I think Shane, you're right. I mean, with the answers that he had were really good. He had him in, they're saying 3 submission attempts. There was one that was really fucking deep, wasn't it? He had like him in a darce, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. He had I think he had jumped Gilly at first, and then in that got thwarted. But then yeah, he had a Darce there for a second as well. Like he was doing the damn thing. I mean, like he
Yeah.
was making this his fight for real. Like taking over control of it and really showing that he belongs. That's obviously what you want to do in your debut. And I mean, I think that by the end of the fight, certainly Tanzalovi was getting gassed out a little bit
Yeah.
earlier in this fight. I mean, he was looking tired probably about halfway through, which was another note that I thought was pretty funny, is that at the end of the fight, he's still emoting just to collapse at the end. I don't know if you saw that. He sits down back against the cage, which I'm like, all right, dude, yeah, you can't really emote when you're huffing and puffing back to the cage like that. But either way, Collins gets this very nice win. Like I said, proves that he is of UFC caliber, at least at this entry level. And I thought it was good on the microphone too. He actually, the person that he reminded me of, and this is a pretty high compliment, he reminded me a little bit of my friend Cody Gibson. Kind of just a solid dude. Serious enough. Obviously he said, I'm not happy with my performance. You always love to hear that. It means that he wants to improve, but just a guy who's like in there to fight, not really like a no frills kind of guy, not really trying to be one of these big personalities. And me, that's the exact type of fighter that I like, I appreciate. You go in there, you fight your best. You don't need to all of the antics to boost you. Let your fight and do the talking.
What I want to compare him to, and I this is maybe not the best, but the vibes that I get from him, when it comes to just his image, he's that clean cut. They made him in a factory kind of deal. Your Francis Marshalls, your Clayton Carpenters. What I've always said about those guys is I feel like I need to see them get just, they got to get dirty with it. And we've seen, and Francis Marshall, I think, was the last guy, his last performance, he was bloodied up and whatever, and he did a good deal of adversity coming back. But I feel like in this one, I was like, I saw that out of Shane Collins. I was like, man, when it gets down to it, I feel like he's gonna fight for your money. Not that he needs to fight for your money, but for his money for sake. He's out here trying to win. So I really appreciate him. I think Shane Collins is pretty damn good, man.
Same here. And, I appreciate as well that he is putting on for Combat U. So keep doing what you're doing, Shane Collins. You're off to a good start.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's a good way. And I thought it was a good way to start this card in general, but then we ended up with this fight. So let's talk about it. It's Carol Hosa versus Luana Santos. If you recall, on this very show last week, I was saying that Carol Hosa is hot and cold. She comes in sometimes looking like she is about to end somebody's world, and then she comes in looking like she doesn't want to be there. Luana Santos is pretty consistent, but she is also very much lay and pray artist, is what I've kind of come to expect from her. Unfortunately, hot and cold Carol was cold again, and Luana Santos was consistent with her lay and pray ability. So, what can you say?
Well, the thing is, okay, so this fight was very interesting because to start in the first round, and I kid you not, the first round was 4 minutes of Luana Santos with the same grip. She never broke grip. Carol Rosa was just not unable. She really wasn't even trying for it, because if she did, she was probably going to get taken down. She was really just trying to push her face off of her most of this, and it was funny enough because it's like, damn, like that does look like it kind of fucking her. She's over here like, but like, girl, just let go. You don't have to
Yeah.
look like that. And so we have 4 minutes of this. And then at the end of the round, Carol Rosa actually was going to win the round. She was going to win the round by sitting on the cage and just kind of landing like some little pitter patter shots, stretching her out kind of deal. And then Luana gets a fucking takedown at the end of the fucking round or whatever, flips her kind of deal. I believe that's how that happened. And then she lays on top and then the round ends. And I'm like, well, fuck, there goes that first round. You could have won with nothing, really, because Luana was doing nothing. Like, look at, she landed 9 significant strikes and threw 11. Like, bro, Luana Santos, people want to talk about harmless, and I'm not trying to say she's got submission wins, but a performance like this is like, you aren't doing anything. Like the second round is actually where it's unfortunate, because Cara Rosa walks in, she's very confident, she throws like a kick and then fucking falls, and then oh my god, right into the fucking
banana peel.
Right into, and then Luana gets the fucking, she's right into her full guard, and then we just sit there for that. And Cara Rosa, I'm like, all right, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, probably had it for 15 years. Let's get a base. Let's get back to our feet, get to the fence, do something. Nope. We're just gonna lay there. We're just gonna lay there.
I mean, accepting position was like the name of the game for Hosa, and that really was like what was my most frustrating part about watching this fight, and especially about rewatching it, was just not active enough with her range striking or her clinch striking, to be perfectly honest, because there was a lot of clinching in this fight. Slow to start, get clinched up, get laid on, and then stay inactive. That's the thing, because I'm like, look, whatever, you have 3 rounds, you know what I mean? Like, every round is going to start with you separated. Every one of those rounds is an opportunity for you to change the trajectory of the course of the fight. When you go and have a repeat performance, or repeat elements of the same things that were wrong for you in those earlier rounds, it really is like, it's a terrible signal as to your progression in this sport. And I'm talking about within the fight and with outside of the fight at that point. Like you said, she's 19-8. This is a person who has been in this sport for a very long time at this point. No desire to get back to her feet, accepting position on the ground. I mean, just, this was such a bad look all around. And my last part with it, and I hate to say this because I never like to think that this is the truth, but just when you see Carol Hosa's face when she's on the ground, and this again especially was apparent to me on the rewatch, she just doesn't look like she has her heart in it anymore. And I don't, like I said, it's hard for me to say that, and I'm obviously not in her mind or in her skin or any of that kind of stuff, but just the way that she was accepting it, the like, just this look of like, oh God, I can't believe that I'm down here, I can't believe that this is happening kind of thing. It just really did not signal a fighter that wants to like really go out there and like be the best version of herself in this sport.
Luana just cannot keep getting away with this, bro. This performance, man. I mean, it is abysmal that you could, like, I know, listen, unanimous decision 30-27 is fine, bro. I mean, she laid on her, Cara Rosa didn't really do anything, but like, she is now like the 4th ranked bantamweight, bro. She's like 24 years old as well. Like, she's really young in this sport, and 11-2 is not the worst record, but like, she needs some humbling, bro. Like, and I'm not saying it because I dislike her and she's like very cocky, but like, she got up after this performance and did her little shake ass, kind of celebration. It's like, girl, get the fuck out of here. Like, come on, like, you're 24 years old. Look at Josh Van, like he's out here doing his thing, and he's making memorable performances. He's doing great things for his career. When I watch this Luana Santos, like, people aren't even talking about how good you look after a performance like this. They're like, just get her out of here.
Oh
man.
yeah,
like,
no, and that's why, I mean, like, because I also try not to be a person that will instantly call anything that's on the ground lay and pray. Obviously, I mean, we've seen some great wrestlers and grapplers in this sport, and great women that do that very effectively. This is lay and pray. This is what this is. It's just move her over here, on top, over here, side control, back. And it's like, it's enough activity on the ground so that the ref can't stand it up, but it is not going for submissions. It's not trying to finish the fight. It is just holding her down. And then if they're not on the ground, then holding her up against the cage on the feet. That's all that this is, what this was from Santos in this fight. And again, that's why I don't mean to rag on Hosa too hard here, but like, that's why it felt like she just isn't in it anymore, is because it's like, if you're allowing that from, somebody who, I mean, yeah, we know that she's good, but is she great? It doesn't feel that way when you see what you're seeing. So it's like, yeah, I agree. You're right. I feel like Santos is getting away with things right now because of the opponents that she's facing.
This reminds me exactly of Jailton Almeida when he came out and said, if I was from the Middle East, nobody would say shit about how I fight. It's like, brother, that's not the point. Like, bro, be better. Like, what are you
Right.
talking about? We give them shit all the fucking time. Like, you are just being stupid.
And
Like, I
this
don't
is a
know.
girl with pretty privilege, you know what I mean? Like this is what this would be the one where you'd be like, oh man, well she might lay and pray, but ain't she pretty? You know, it's like I want to see her fight.
The thing is, and I can already see how this goes, bro, because I just looked at the fucking rankings. They are not going to give her Jocelyn Edwards. They know better. They know because Jocelyn will destroy her. They will give her Norma Dumont, who has went to 21 decisions in her UFC career, has not finished not one person. And that's who they're going to match her up with. And we're going to get a very boring. We're going to get Norma Dumont to fucking lay on her back, probably, you
Well,
know?
and you make a good point in general, though, in a general sense. This can only go so far. You know what I mean? Like that's the other element of this, where it's like, okay, sure, yeah. I mean, you saw it; she's ranked super high now. What do you do with that? Because you know she's not going to be able to be championship material with this kind of a performance, this kind of a style. So, like, I guess you do just give her Norma Dumont, and then just keep feeding her lower fighters so that she's just essentially a gatekeeper for the upper echelon of the division. And what point does that serve?
Yeah, I just they'll give her a title shot eventually, man. They will, as long as she can. I mean, Norma Dumont is the next target. I would say she gets a unanimous decision with fucking 7 significant strikes, probably, and and then they're gonna figure out how to get her a title shot. She's they want one of the youngest women champs of all time. It's there's two different standards here. Like John Jones is like not a different thing. Like when it comes to the women, like they have their own echelon kind of deal. So,
Who's
um,
the champion of this division?
Kayla Harrison.
Exactly. Okay. So
Well,
she'll get a shot, sure.
I would really, and even not even Kayla Harrison. I mean, well, the thing that is actually interesting about that is like you say, who's the champ? Obviously, but she has to go through Amanda, and if Amanda wins, then the title gets vacated, and then we have a fucking vacancy for Luana Santos versus.
Oh, you don't think
Uh,
Amanda's going to stick around?
why would she?
I
She goes
mean,
and beats the goat again. She's the goat. Why she didn't want to compete anymore? Because she was the goat. Why would she want
she
to
just
compete now if she's the
because
goat?
she no, she took time off to go raise her young family. She might be ready now.
Okay, I mean, we'll
I mean, I
see.
don't know. Look, I don't know. I mean, that
Luana's,
was at least what we were
yeah,
told. But no, look. How about this? The loser of that fight, let her have that, and then if she, you know what I mean, like that would be I think that would be a perfect, and that would be a perfect endpoint to the Luana Santos experiment. And the fact that she's ranked 3 now in the division with the meta rating or whatever. Like, give her the loser of that fight. If she can do that, if she can beat the loser of that fight, then you have certainly earned it.
yeah, yeah.
I
But
think that makes
Jocelyn,
sense.
I think Jocelyn gets her title shot next. Yeah.
It should be. I mean, comparatively to this style of performance, it would be criminal if she doesn't.
And this is one thing that I will once again point out is like when you see somebody who's dedicated and got skills, you really kind of you can see the light bulb. You can see it. And for me to be like, man, Jocelyn Edwards, guys, you got to look out for her, and then she goes on a fucking tear when it comes to finishes, and then people who are out here like, man, Lana Santos is so fucking good. Like that's what you get. This is what you get for rooting for people like hers because you get a performance like this. Go tell every one of your friends about it right now. Go tell them that it was a great one. Like,
But she's pretty, Chase. I like looking at her.
yeah, true. What can I say? What can I
Yeah.
say?
Anyway, well, she got the win here. Carol Hosa back to the drawing board if she even wants to still be in this sport anymore. I don't know. I would suspect you might be seeing Carol Hosa, on the chopping block at some point, or just leave. Not even getting cut. Just she might just decide to leave.
Speaking of not being in the sport anymore, please introduce this next fight.
Sure thing. Let's go on to it. Oh, yes, this was a fun one. This is Leon Shahbazyan versus Levon Chokoli. Of course, this is, in fact, Edmund Shahbazyan's brother. It's his older brother, Leon Shahbazyan, and Levon Chokoli is the Georgian who was also making his debut. Both these guys making their debuts. Yeah, go ahead, Chase.
Well, first to start, when they showed him on the camera, did you also notice that he looked like Borat?
Yeah, you can certainly you can draw the comparisons. He doesn't look a lot like Edmund, to be
That
perfectly
is
honest.
well, I had always because like when it comes to Armenian last names, Armenian names are very common. I was like Edmund Shabazian. I mean, he might be Armenian, and then when this dude came in here and he's representing Armenia. I was like, well, goddamn, I am a motherfucking genius. But no, yeah, Edmund's obviously ginger, so he's got different DNA strand kind of deal. But like they definitely don't look similar at all. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's yeah, it was a little bit odd just for that. I mean, maybe without the beards, if you just saw them both without, maybe, but like you're right. I mean, yeah, one is even without the red hair, they just don't their facial structure, they don't look like brothers
The
necessarily, but
body, the body physique is definitely brothers, though. You can, yeah, that's
sure,
brothers.
yeah, I could see that. I mean, I said that sadly in this case, tall for nothing, Leon, over here, it's unfortunate.
We were breaking down the fights, and a quick glimpse at this dude's record, you could tell how this fight was going to go. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not think that this was short of what was supposed to happen. This dude, he all five of his losses are by KO. Like, and he has 11 submissions, never been submitted. That's cool. Great, good deal. When you come into this sport and you're 6'4" as a welterweight or whatever, and you've been knocked out 4 times already, brother, it's not going to be good for you. So when he came into this fight, and there's really not much to say about it. I mean, 2 leg kicks and a body shot really ended this dude's life. I mean, it's not even that he like. It's like, man, a leg kick does hurt. Like, man, he might have broke his leg. It's like, no, like he was. He couldn't pick a struggle, like he was, he's on the ground. He's like, oh, my leg,
Oh,
oh
well, no,
my, oh, my
what I
leg.
said about it, I said that the body language from Shahbazyan looked like when a person is out in public and someone else is trying to pick a fight with them and they don't want to be in that fight, but the other person is like really insisting, yo, we're fighting over here, whether you like it or not, kind of thing. And they're just sort of kind of like looking over their shoulder, like, hey, whoa, 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 like that, like that's what his body language reminded me of.
Like I'm not trying to really clown him, bro, because obviously respect for going in there
Oh,
against
of
a
course,
really
yeah.
tough dude in this Georgian guy. I mean, 23 seconds. The combination was nice. He was ready to end this fight, and he had the perfect opponent to do it because, like I said, bro, it's like two leg kicks you should be able to take. As a pro MMA fighter, even on your debut, you got to expect, like, not everybody's Harry Hardwick. Like, not everybody's just gonna get 50 leg kicks and fall over and roll around. 2 leg kicks you should manage. And if one hurts, like, look at Josh Hogan and Max Jimenez. If the leg kick hurts, you better fucking do something different. This dude took the leg kick, said, ah, shit, limped over to the corner, took another leg kick, said, ow, and then got a mean combination and then get ripped to the body. Now, granted, liver side dropped him, no big deal, but like, you got to figure out which punch you could take, brother. Like, you couldn't take the leg kicks, you couldn't take the body shot, even the shots that were coming up top. It looked like you were not ready to answer. You were just praying to God you did not get chinned, and that didn't work out for you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You gotta. I hate to say, but like, you gotta be more prepared to fucking withstand something, dude. Like, again, it was 2 leg strikes and then a body shot. He blocked everything up top. He hit him in the shoulder once. He probably, but then the body shot really ended it. And just the image of him on the ground curled up in a ball, bro. He's
Yeah.
holding his leg. He's transitioning between his stomach hurts, his leg hurts. It's like, dude, was anything gonna be okay for you in this fight?
No,
Like,
yeah, I mean, you make a good point, and well, one thing I did want to say is that I was extremely proud of this show. I thought that when because we didn't know these guys when we were doing our predictions between the two of us, we did the research and we figured out exactly how this was going to go. So I was like, man, this really is like, we might be a pair of chuckleheads, me and Chase, but at the end of the day, you actually got some decent information out of us. So, I was very happy with that element of it. But you make a good point with the size, because that was one thing that we brought up on the predictions, how tall he is. When you're fighting at welterweight, you'd think, oh, the larger guy has the advantage, but you got to think about all of the factors that go into that. He's tall, but he's also lanky. That comes with a lack of bone density, perhaps. That comes with that certainly a lack of muscle density when it comes to what's padding his body out. So he has to be able to absorb those shots. I mean, like, I don't know if it was just a lack of conditioning or if it really is just not having as much weight on the frame to absorb the shock. But whatever it is, you get the height advantage, but do you have the fortitude? Do you have the density of the body to actually be able to hang with guys who are punching like Levon Shockley, who's coming out here hot?
I compared him on the show to the Jose Enrique guy that we had a few weeks ago. That 6'5" welterweight, he actually had confident striking. He stayed on the outside. He knew his game. He's picking the shots. He's withstanding punches from the other person. He even smiling when he gets hit. Like, come on, like, let's do this. We're in a fight. Leon Shabazian came in here. and he knew that he didn't have it. You know, like this is unfortunately a performance that it felt like he said yes because my brother's in the UFC. You know, if he can do it, I got to show out. You know, he's my little brother. You know, I got to take the opportunity. He took the opportunity. Look at him now. Blah 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 blah. So he takes his opportunity, and I'm not saying he knew that this dude was some killer, but like I think he knew that he was probably not UFC level. Like, come on, like this was not very. Sometimes you feel bad for people. Like it's like, come on, when they find those short notice guys that are fucking 4 losses that have all been finishes, it's like, what are we doing here? It's like this again. This is a guy on his debut, the Georgian guy. No shade to Levon Chokely. This dude he's a mean guy because he knew exactly what he had to do. Another day at the office, I'm going to make my second half of my paycheck and I'm going to go home with nothing on me. You know, he'll probably be back in 2 weeks, probably. You know, this Leon Shahbazyan dude, though, sometimes, again, you just feel bad because I should never look at the fighter and I should not be able to say, I could do that. That performance right there, I could do that. And people are like, oh, you wouldn't be able to. That one right there, yes, that's
Yeah.
literally me. Like I
Yeah.
would literally look just like that. Like
Right. Yeah. No, I think you make a good point with that. Absolutely. Yeah. That is an achievable, performance for anybody, really. I mean,
it's
to go in there and just
23
get punched.
seconds,
Yeah.
23 seconds with a pro athlete, yes, maybe even less. I mean,
Right.
but I mean, close enough. You know, maybe he made 12 more seconds than me, but that's the problem. I'm
Yeah.
a dude on the couch. Trockley would take my fucking head off. He didn't take your head off, but you know what I'm saying. Like
I
that's
mean, certainly took your body out for sure.
yeah,
And yeah, and look, we didn't know it at the time, but of course, we have talked many times about the fact that it is a known thing, whether by cosmic coincidence or whatever the case may be, or just circumstances as they are. Generally, with siblings, there's going to be one who is the better of the two in the sport. And it seems that there is a reason that Edmund has been in the UFC as long as he has now, seeing his brother. So
yeah. God, that this performance, it was hilarious. I hate to say it was hilarious. I should never watch a fight and think that was so goddamn entertaining for the wrong reason. You know, like unforgettable for sure. I mean, making a name for yourself in the worst way possible. But if any publicity is good publicity, Leon Shabazian, the climb up, Harry Hardwick came back, and we actually have props to him now. You know, so I, I don't think we'll see you back, but if we see you on Garboza or Garbaka's page that you get a win in the regionals next, I mean, hats off to you.
yeah, absolutely. Make this the launching pad. The instance that you always look back to be like, I'm never going to be in that position ever again. How about
Yeah,
that? So.
absolutely.
But shout out to Levon Chockley, though. Like you said, he came in and did exactly what he was supposed to do. So we're gonna. I mean, fights like this, I always say we don't get enough information. We did not see him dragged into any deep water. He didn't take any strikes whatsoever. I mean, literally 0 for 1 on strikes for Shahbazyan. So we're gonna have to see how Chockley does against somebody who's a little bit better suited to be in the UFC. But in this instance, hats off to you, brother. Good for you.
Yeah, I think the main thing about it is, especially when you talk about not knowing, not enough data with this fight. You have somebody who's 6'4", very tall, very lanky, against Chalkley. He's at welterweight. You know, we don't really know what he's gonna match up like against other people. And like, obviously, we have massive welterweights like a Michael Morales. You know, and Ian Gary's very tall, lanky, but like, who is Chalkley really like kind of comparable in size? Like, what are we dealing with here? We don't know because this dude towers over him. He makes everybody look small, kind of deal. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. So really it's going to be about the matchmaking when it comes to Chalkley. We'll see what they want to do with him after a fight like that. You know what I mean? Like what do the matchmakers think about that? Okay, we saw him walk through this guy, but this guy was not really supposed to be here. So what do we do with that? So we'll find out when he gets his next fight, but we'll
I,
remember.
I got you, Antonio Trocoli. And the reason I say this, actually, I think it's the wrong weight, but the reason I say this, even if it's wrong weight, Antonio Trocoli, they will make that matchup just because the names sound similar.
Chalkley versus Chalkley. That
Yes,
just it writes itself.
it does. They do
Good
it all the
deal.
time. Swear to you. All right.
True. All right. Good deal, though. And we shall see. Hopefully, yeah, if it'll get Antonio Trockley out of the sport, I'd be very happy about that.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one here. This I really enjoyed this fight. This was Gaston Bolaños versus Michael Aswell Jr. This was a good scrap, man. I mean, I thought this was a really like an kind of an old school kickboxing match between these two guys. Both stand up dudes. I I felt like maybe I don't know that if it's just because I was, maybe watching it a little bit more scrupulously, and I also did pick Aswell to win this fight, so perhaps I was slightly viewing it through that lens. But even after rewatching it, I thought that this was a much closer fight than the scores would lead you to believe. I mean, yeah, they gave Aswell one of the rounds, but I thought that because they actually went to split decision, Cam, at the end of this. I think they anticipated it was going to be a split decision. It didn't end up being that. 29-28 for all three judges. I gave this fight to Aswell personally. I thought that because it really came down to round one. Round two was Bolaños's round, and Aswell I thought did really well in round three. So really, round one was the big decider. And after rewatching it, I mean, Bolaños had a couple of decent lands in there, but Aswell is a volume striker. The biggest problem that he has is that because he's got great volume, he keeps great pressure on, and his speed is there. He just does not have the power, and that is the unfortunate aspect of him. Is that if he had knockout power, he could already be like a surging prospect, but sadly he doesn't have that, and because of that, it ends up being these long drag out wars. And so I was not mad at the decision that came from this. Like, Bolaños did a great fight himself. I thought that this was really defied his record. I mean, he was 8-5 coming into this fight. So I mean, I was glad that for his sake that he won this fight. I didn't agree with it, but I was not upset with it because of how well I thought he did in the fight.
Well, to start, let me say this. I appreciate Michael Aswell always because the fact that he is best friends with Josh Van makes him he just has to come watch him and live. He comes watches him live. He'll just be in
True.
the crowd. And it's actually different because Josh Van has been teammates before. We've seen him as the cornerman. But he wants to just sit back and enjoy the fight with his guy Michael Aswell. And that's a different type of love right there. So shout out Michael Aswell for being my guy Josh Van's BFF. You guys are awesome.
Hell
Now,
yeah.
the second thing I will say about that is he could have benefited from having Josh Van in his corner for this fight. This fight, it was a lot closer than I feel like it should have been. We've seen Gaston Bolaños. We should have known, of course, that his chin was going to hold up. Michael Aswell, on the other hand, I want to suspect that this was a bad weight cut from Michael Aswell because he was getting wobbled. And we know what this dude is like on short notice. Maybe that has something to do with the weight cut. He didn't have to cut all the way. I'm pretty sure he stepped up on short notice for his debut when we were like, what the fuck is this dude made of? This dude does not get chinned, and he got wobbled a few different times in this. And I think that is what swayed the judges, of course, was like, it's really close. Okay, those weren't power shots, kind of deal. I am starting to realize, like, as much as Michael Aswell can throw his hands and as much as he's good at doing so, he doesn't, and this is me, just my perspective, I don't think he's like very heavy in his fists. Like, he throws them, but he doesn't like, he's not like bouncy and pop in and out. Like, he throws them in like a slug kind of fashion. And yes, it's impactful, it's powerful kind of deal, but that's not how you get knockouts. It's got to just like snap, kind of deal. Like his are more like he's pushing once he punches kind of deal. Like I don't know. I feel like there's just a reason that he is not getting the power shots that he should. And when I look at him throw the strikes, it's like, I feel like I see why kind of deal, if that makes sense. So this one, this is 3 rounds of 2 dudes throwing pretty good volume at each other. This also potential fight of the night kind of candidate
Oh,
here.
it was mine. Yeah, absolutely.
But judging going to Bolaños, I just unfortunately think it's Michael Aswell needs a fucking wake up call, brother. Like, you are getting every fight close. Unanimous decision aside, obviously that doesn't tell the whole story, but most of your fights, your split decision against Bolaños, I'm pretty sure. And then, and then the Luke Riley, you looked really good against Luke Riley. The problem is Luke Riley's on his fucking second fight in the organization. Michael Aswell, you have been going up against, this is a veteran at this point, even though, 8-5 is not necessarily telling, but he's been around for a little bit. Bolaños is a big, powerful striker who's another veteran at this point kind of deal, but Michael Aswell is just not seeming to fucking like just get past guys that they gave you Bolaños, bro. Come on, you
Yeah.
know.
No, you're absolutely right. Again, it bothers me for that exact reason because he has so many good elements. Like we've seen fighters in this sport who are, they just don't have the makeup to like to go far with certain. Like they have maybe one thing that they're good at, but they can't put all the other pieces together. He's got like three of the four pieces, but it's just that last one's not there, and that just seems to be the thing holding him back. And like I feel like there is a fine tuning that can be done on what he brings to the table to make him the fighter that he should be. But like now is really when it needs to start happening because, it's like one loss now, but you start getting more adding up there after the fact. I mean, it only gets hard. Like you said, it's Gaston Bolaños here. I mean, this is the guy that, you really probably should have gotten the win over. This turned out to be a war, which is great for us. We enjoyed that. But like, in the big picture, when it came to the matchmaking, like this should have been a kind of a stepping stone fight if you're really going to be that guy in the future. So like it's kind of it feels a little bit now or never when it comes to that element of it. I'm not saying he's going to get cut or anything like that. I'm just saying that like for his own sake, if he's really wanting to become a guy who's going to make waves in this sport, like you really got to figure out all of those elements to be the full package because a fight like this there's going to be a million of fights like this. Like this is the exact fight that you should be expecting going forward. Like, I'm sure that there are going to be times with people with different chins and stuff like that. You might be able to actually do some damage to somebody with a little bit less power than you're bringing to the technique that you have. Cause I do agree with you that like, I also see what you're saying when it's like, it's the way he sets his shots up. It's not technically it's not crafted to be a knockout shot because he's a volume striker.
Mhm.
And that might work for a lot of like guys, coming up potentially, but you are going to end up with the next Gaston Bolaños in front of you, and you can't keep having this as the outcome.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I feel bad for Michael Aswell because I really do like the dude. The Texas kid, whatever you want to say. Like he is a fun fighter, but we can only keep around so many fun fighters who lose. Like that's unfortunately the case. If you can't beat Bolaños, brother, I have no hope that you're going to beat many people. But I know that you're good. I know you're qualified, but every fight he's this guy that every fight that he has is close. Like that's just how it goes.
Yeah, and we've been seeing more and more lately. It really does feel like in the Paramount era specifically that we've been seeing more and more fighters with winning records. We get great fighters that are getting cut or just leaving or whatever, whatever the reason is, whether it's the contract ending or whatever the circumstances are. I mean, plenty of fight, Renat Fakhretdinov, fucking Thiago Moises just got cut. Ketlin Vieira just got cut. I mean, these are all fighters with decent records that were around for a while. So like, I mean, don't think that you're safe is what I guess
Yeah.
what I'd say at the end of the day. And like I said, it's not necessarily now or never, as in you can't get better and you're on the chopping block, but you need to get better so that you're not on the chopping block.
Absolutely. Yeah, this shout out Bolaños though. I mean, for a much needed win. I mean, we wrote him off to be retired, after this kind of deal, just basically get up out of here. But he put on a good performance. I mean, he showcased that he's decent enough to fight, I mean, he definitely earned himself a few more fights against formidable prospects.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. I thought he did great in this fight in a lot of respects. Even if it was very close, I thought he was really nice off the back foot in a general sense. I mean, like, because Aswell is all pressure all the time.
Mhm.
He's up in his face, and he just met fire with fire often in this fight. Like, he had a lot of nice kicks in this fight as well. I said, that, the one thing I would say about Bolaños is that considering that he also doesn't seem to have like the craziest power in his hands. I mean, you can tell that he has like a pop to his punches, but like I wouldn't consider him necessarily like the next knockout artist. So that being the case, he needs to be putting more power on those kicks. Like he
Yeah.
can land some really nice kicks. Like load up on those, dude. I mean, if you can keep swinging those, you're in good shape. You can probably get somebody to the body pretty well with that. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I really thought that this was a great fight overall, a good scrap all around, and I was not mad at Bolaños getting the nod. So, congratulations to him. He had a very heartfelt message after the fight, shouting out his father who passed away, and it was on Father's Day. Of course,
Yep.
happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
The day
Uh,
before.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, whatever. Father's Day weekend
Yes. Yes.
extended. But yeah, so it was I thought a very nice thing that he was able to get the win, dedicate it to his father, and like that. So good deal.
No, absolutely. I agree. That was a pretty good one for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations, Gaston. Moving on to the next fight here. This was Allan Nascimento versus Mitch Raposo. Last week, I had said that Mitch Raposo has been making improvements, getting better fight over fight. Did you feel that you were seeing those improvements in this fight, Chase?
Brother, this was, and I say this often, and obviously it's a hyperbolic statement, but this might be one of the worst fights of the year.
I mean, I think that is a little bit harsh, man.
For real? Okay, well let me let you break down what you thought was very good or at least decent about this. I'll
Sure.
start there.
What I'd say is that I think that Mitch Raposo uses his speed very effectively. I think he did that here. He did not give Nascimento time to get comfortable or strategize. They were talking about it on the commentary, and I agree with this. Raposo he's very fast twitch. He's always kind of darting all over the place, but he with lateral movement specifically, but he pairs that with a nice blitz entry, which I think keeps his opponents off rhythm. And that I think is going to be very dangerous for him going forward because I think that there are going to be a plenty of fighters at flyweight who are going to be able to lock in, figure out that rhythm, and not let it catch them off guard. But in this fight, I think it worked pretty well for him. He also was stuffing the takedowns pretty effectively. That's when I knew that Nascimento was in trouble. I was like, okay, if he's not able to take him down, Mitch is going to keep, darting in and out, just getting his shots when he could. And over the course of this fight, I mean, it was consistent output for Raposo. He leveled up, the striking as well. I thought that this was a good performance. It was not a great fight because I don't think that Nascimento really brought a lot to the table. Mitch does need to work on finishing ability. Like, I mean, like with what he was getting back from Nascimento, like he really should have just turned up by like round two, like halfway through this fight and been like, all right, we're not taking this to round three kind of thing is what I would say to it. But Nascimento got him. He did drop him in the third round. So I guess that's something you can say in Nascimento's favor. But other than that, I thought that this was just a really nice, solid, steady pace for Raposo, who, as I had said, I think has been making some decent improvements. I think it's time to put a little respect on his name, even if you hated this fight.
I would not agree with that. I think this was one of those fights that was just one long round, and he did drop him at the end. That's, it's cool. I'm happy for him, but the fight itself was not very good. Flyweights landing less than 60 strikes total, each. It doesn't speak to a very active fight, and I can tell you from watching it, it was not.
Well,
Um,
let me just say one thing is that I think that because of what I was talking about with Raposo's movement and the blitz entry, I think that was how Nascimento was trying to counter that was by clinching him up and kind of slowing the pace down. So I agree with you. There was a lot of hugging in this fight. This was also a fight that I was talking to chat a lot during the watch along. So I in the moment, it was not the most exciting. I can give you that.
Yeah, this was one of those fights where at the end of the night, I questioned how we got done so quick when fights like this were dragging on, and obviously there's only a certain amount of time that a fight can be for a 3 round bout, so like I know it's only 15 minutes of the time, but like, bro, this fight, some fights, man, it's like you feel like the matchmakers, and I know the matchmakers are sitting on the sideline. They're like, we fucked up. Like that one's just this is a dud. Like they're just not going to go for it. And I'm sure people at the end of the fight that when he got the knockdown, they were like, there it is. That's exactly what we were expecting, kind of deal. But what do we get? A dude that fucking bum rushes him to the ground, and then we get fucking nothing out of it. So it goes to split decision, and he loses. And Mitch Raposo, I mean, it's a guy who is going to get exposed in the division. Already has been, not necessarily the best, so he can stay around. I don't mind him because he does have some pretty good post fight speeches as well. This was another good one. Did you catch this one?
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. He was
Shouted out like his coach's dad, I think is how that was.
correct. Yeah. I guess his coach lost his father as well. So rest in peace there, of course. But yeah, and then I think he called out Moreno, if I'm not mistaken. So right.
Oh, yes, that is key. So he called out, and at the time, I'm like, Moreno, okay, not necessarily the one that I would say is a good one, but Edgar Shirez, he's ranked, so it's kind of interesting call out. But when somebody pointed out, I believe it was Vampiric Legs, that he called out two people who are also a part of his management team at Iridium. And if you guys are familiar with Team Iridium, um, Yeah, we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, the specter of James Krause always somewhere in the background looming, I suppose. But yeah, that is an interesting element of it. Definitely, I don't know if that was by design or not, but it is an interesting thing to note. Yeah, I what I will say, as I was just kind of glazing Raposo a little bit, I do think he's improved. I definitely, because I was questioning him early in his career. I think he has made some good strides forward, but I do think that higher up competition is going to be very, very tough for him. Flyweight, as we always say, is like the most competitive division, in my opinion. I mean, it's the guys are fast. There's knockout power with a couple of these guys. The cardio is insane at flyweight. You have to be the total package at flyweight, and Raposo, he's becoming more of his version of that, which is great. It's good to see improvements. I don't know if he's going to be enough to beat any of those guys. Actually, I think that right now Moreno actually is a pretty okay call out, based on where he's gotten to in his career. For and this comes from a huge fan. Trust, I don't like that that's the case, but I do think it makes sense.
Calling out any ranked opponent after this performance is a no-go. I mean, this dude, Mitch Raposo, I mean, he's already lost 2 times in the organization, and he lost to a dude who we're going to talk about here in a little bit, of course. He just lost to a dude who, now that I'm looking at it, bro, the AI ranked Sumer Darji below Mitch Raposo. He beat the motherfucker 2 fights ago. Like,
right.
so, whatever. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, there's really not much more to say about it. Yeah, this was definitely not the greatest fight of the evening for sure. Raposo doing the right thing. I will. This is the type of fight that I do want to like file away in my brain to know that Mitch Raposo can get a win. Because I mean, what we talked about on the predictions was that Nascimento, 22-6 coming into this fight. Now 22-7, but like. This is a lot of experience for for an opponent. So like Raposo at 10-3 coming into this fight, like it's good to see him able to get wins over a person with that type of pedigree. So will he be able to replicate? That's going to be the question. I don't know if the answer is necessarily yes, but I do want to keep it in my mind next time you see a name where you're like, oh, well, surely that guy's going to beat Mitch Raposo. It's like, I don't think that should be the framework anymore. I think that's what I'm trying to get across here is that like just the framing of how you look at Raposo should shift a little bit.
Well, so in that same vein, yes, Mitch Raposo might be able to pull it out, but the way, but you got to think about it. It's like, oh, Mitch Raposo is like liable to have a really sleepy fucking matchup, and he may skate by, or he may look like fucking absolute dog
True.
shit.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, that also does track. So extrapolate the information how you see fit when it comes to all of those elements of it. But he got the win here, split decision or otherwise. So congratulations, I guess.
Hell yeah. Now this next one, goddamn, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it then. This is Bia Mesquita versus Melissa Mullins. I know that this hurts. Melissa Mullins is your girl, Chase, but Bia Mesquita, I think, there was a couple of things with Mesquita in this. So, first of all, Mullins had never been subbed before this fight. So, first time for everything, I suppose, unfortunately for her. But the big takeaway from this to me, Bia Mesquita got hurt in this fight. I mean, if you saw the way that she ended up getting to the ground in the first place was that she got cracked. Like her chin was up in the air. She strikes when she's on her feet. She is striking chin up, hands out. And something to be aware of going forward is that she's touchable and she's affectable in that regard. She did get her druthers back. She was able to pull herself together and then off of her back, obviously she's a maverick over here. Like she really is very, very, very skilled on the ground, but that doesn't negate the fact that, she had to get down there somehow, and that's not the way you want to go to the ground.
This one was heartbreaking, and we'll definitely go over it a little bit. But when the weigh-ins happened and they went face to face, I initially read this. Melissa Mullins walks up and she takes like a deep breath and she has like this look on her face, like, all right, I made it. Let's just get it over with. Like I'm not. I had a matchup in front of my family that was supposed to kind of go my way. This is what they offered me in return. Like, let's just fucking do it. Let's enact the game plan.
That's a good point too, right? Because I forget who it was supposed to be against, but like it was definitely not this level of competition in England that she was supposed to have.
Yeah, so when you pair that together, obviously she's never been submitted. Melissa Mullins is a black belt. And then when you watch her come into this fight, she has to fight a specific way. They gave her a game plan. Like I said, the way that she just looked like, all right, I have to do what what coach is thinking is going to win. This is not normally how I fight. She came in hands down, real loose, and it looked good for a second. But there was a moment where she kind of got popped up, and then she kind of like laughed it off and then got popped up some more. And I was like, okay, you need to start. This is still in the same realm of like, I'm not taking it as serious because where am I? Who am I facing here? Like, I don't know. So when she got popped up a little bit, it looked a little bad. Like, oh, she's looking a little too like Bo Nickel against RDR, when he's just like having too much of a good time kind of deal. But then Melissa, gets it together. Obviously, this style that she has, Mesquita, she walks forward. She's very plotting, but Melissa actually looked very good light on her feet. I actually really kind of liked what she was doing here. The shots weren't very accurate. Let me say that. She was swinging and she was missing a lot. But the one that she landed sent Mesquita off balance. She pops her up a little bit more. And then, we clinch a little bit. And then this is where I was like, man, we are fucking in the driver's seat. I am a genius, man. Melissa Mullins is going to fuck her up. And then she flips her. And I'm like, we just took the BJJ champ to her fucking game after we rocked her. Please stand up. Please don't fucking do this. But no, at the moment I was thinking like, oh, we tripped her. Melissa Mullins, black belt. She's got this. We're on top position. We stacked her. We land a fucking elbow. And then I'm like, what are you doing? No. How the fuck did you manage? It's unfortunate because Via Mosquito is she's the Buchecha, right? She's what people thought Buchecha was supposed to be. She actually is a wizard on her back because pulling this off, not only after being stunned, showing that you really want to be in the fight, you want to finish it kind of deal, but pulling this off, immediately in the opportunity that you saw fit when she, I don't know exactly how she got it done, but as soon when they said in the commentary, when she crossed her arms with the elbow, she had to lock in and she was able to frame and get the arm bar. And it was unfortunate because you had her fucking hurt. You had her hurt on the feet. You tripped her. Okay, get her to the ground. Now let's ground and pound. But if you disregarded how good she could be at grappling. You are a black belt from England. And, when shit like this happens, you question who gave black belt. But Bia Mesquita is a credentialed grappler when it comes to this shit. And I just feel bad for Melissa because she had this fucking fight, guys. Fuck.
Yeah, no, you said it exactly correctly. What I always say, take a step back and tell her to stand up. That's all you have to do. I feel like fighters don't like, I understand you're in the moment. It's a fist fight. I get all of those things, but like, have the wherewithal to know that you have that as an option. It's right there for you. It's the easiest thing that you could do is just disengage and make them stand up, because she could have dropped her for a second time and then maybe finished her outright. But regardless, Mesquita is that good on her back. She gets rocked, she gets taken down. I mean, that is, the other part of it too. It's not like she just went down and was just on her back to begin with. She had to get taken down as well, but then works off of her back to find the arm bar. Of course, future champ potential most definitely there. But the other side of it, sadly, was that Mullins, and I hate that this is the case because, it was reversed for the English woman last time, but Mullins had her own Yulia Stoliarenko moment in this fight, going the one direction that was going to sink her deeper into the armbar. That was the thing that really, really hurt about this. I see Hyder, shout out to Hyder in the chat saying it, she threw it away. I don't know if it was just, again, in the moment or why this was the case, but if she had turned her body to the other direction, she would not have been able to flip her the way that she did to get her onto her back to end up sinking the armbar and finishing it. She ended up going with the armbar. And it was just like, oh my God, it reminded me, I say Yulia Stoliarenko, it reminded me a lot of when Yulia got armbarred by Molly McCann in England. So I'm like, yeah, one English woman can do it, be the aggressor in that case. And the other one is one's the hammer, one's the nail. But unfortunately for Mullins, she did the exact wrong thing. And you could see, I mean, I guess she is just kind of an emotional woman. She cried with the situation in England. She was very tearful after this, which, you never want to see that, of course. But it was like, it hurt me watching it. Cause I'm like, you had the out if you had just gone the other direction, if you just gone counterclockwise instead of clockwise.
See, and this is, and when I posted the screenshots, we'll talk about another fight, of course. When I post a prediction tracker, and I'm the only person, me and one other person pick Melissa Mullins, and everybody's like, you're just picking the biggest dog. It's like, I don't even know who the biggest dog is, guys. I'm just telling you, Melissa Mullins, she has an opportunity. You can't count her out. And when we see something like this, where it's like, bro, she was that fucking close. It's not
Yeah.
like she got stomped out. We've seen plenty of people who I've bet on lose it. There's people out there who bet on Leon Shahbazyan. Like, think about that. I bet on Melissa Mullins here, and she almost finished everybody's fucking hopes and dreams for the next bantamweight champion. So let me just leave it at that. That I was confident in Melissa. It just it just wasn't enough, man. Bia Mesquita she pulled it out her ass. I'll give you that one, bro. The rabbit came out of the hat on this one because Melissa Mullins, fuck, you had this fucking fight, girl. This one really hurt. I'm not gonna lie. Not because I picked her or anything, but like, this is gonna hurt for a while. You fucked up. You had the win, and you did the one thing that you shouldn't have done, and that's to jump in the BJJ 10-time world champion, 100 fucking stripes on her black belt's guard. Like, I don't know, girl. I just.
Yeah, and also just again, like I have to go back to the point of like you could have just created the scramble as opposed to going along with the motion. But so yeah, it should hurt a little bit on that one. So I feel bad for her that that's the case. But again, this is the lady goat we're talking about here, Chase. I mean, Mia Mesquita, she got the nickname for a reason. I said it, and I do believe it. If we want to talk about future champ potential, like it's certainly, we talked a lot about Luana Santos, certainly not in that regard where she's ranked pretty high. Bia Mesquita, that's one that I think maybe gives problems to some people.
And I will be honest, she had probably one of the best call outs that I've probably heard in my life. Did you hear her at the end, her post fight speech?
Refresh my memory.
She said, Eileen Perez, you shake your ass. This is no place to shake your ass. I'm going to kick your ass, is I think how
Yes.
she said.
Hell
Yes.
yeah. I love it. I love it. Perfect. Yeah. And, I mean, I'm certainly okay with that. I've had my opinions about Eileen Perez for a while now. So that I'm good with that. If I don't know if Eileen wants that smoke.
Eileen's inactive as they come, So, but Bia Mesquita, I wouldn't wait around for that matchup if I were you. But hey, we'll go ahead and take it.
Indeed. Great win here, though, and continuing on the path right now. 8-0, still undefeated, Mesquita. So keep your eyes open.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, rounding out the prelims portion of the evening was certainly an interesting fight here. Andre Lima versus Kevin Borjas. Now, starting this off, Borjas did miss weight by 3 pounds. So just something to be aware of. Other than that, this was quite the display on both sides, really. I mean, Lima, what I'd say about this, at least to frame this, if you recall from our previous conversations about Lima, and we did say that he is somewhat inactive, so this is a while back, but Andre Lima is a person who takes a while to start unfolding. His plotty is an understatement for him. I've always said that he's a plotty Muay Thai style kickboxer. They bill him as a kickboxer, but really he's a Muay Thai guy is what it looks like to me. He's always doing high knee. He's, got that forward stance. Like he's really got, just like bring the fight to me kind of is what it feels like when he's out there. It does work for him when that is the dynamic that is created. When somebody is advancing on him, he's able to get his counter shots off. Okay, great. He also takes a while to get his own striking going. So by halfway through this fight, I was like, all right, this is normal. Everything is going the way that it normally goes. He's going to start opening up. This is all going to go how it's supposed to go. Then it just did not ever happen. And a lot of other stuff happened outside of the fight and with how he perceived all of this. And then there's also the foul. So much happened with this fight. Chase, take it away. What'd you think?
This is another one where I think I was calling it just as I envisioned it, and I think it played out just as I thought. All you have to do is be very confident that your guy's going to come out here, not take the sport professionally at all. Come in here, not really engage that much. Take 5+ minutes a break on a foul. We'll get into all these other things, but these are the things that you have to go right for you to pick the biggest dog on the card and him to fucking win. And that's how you do it right here. But no, the point is I said on the pod, or I said on the last episode, like Borjas should be able to dance around him. And that is exactly what we saw happen. This was the most dancing around an opponent that we have ever really seen. Kevin Borjas, to give him credit, And now he was tired. Obviously, we saw him take an extended break. He gassed at the end of the fight. We'll talk about some circumstances there. But for what he was attempting to do, for how his game plan was to beat Andre Lima, it was working. Andre Lima clearly was not getting a game plan off. He was getting frustrated, not able to land anything. They're completely fucking lying on the striking numbers, by the way. Kevin Borjas probably doubled his numbers. Like, Andre Lima literally was doing nothing, and Kevin Borjas was landing 4 strikes combinations every time he stepped in. And it wasn't often, but it was, I'm going to dance around this side, I'm going to dance around this side, boom, 4-5. And then I'm going to dance around this side, boom, 3. Like, Andre Lima had nothing to offer, and Kevin Borjas, as much as people want to say he's unlikable, I saw the vision. I saw the vision, guys. Peruvian, man, he's got a chin. He'll do what it takes to win. If that means being boring to some people, it was this, when you go back to something like a Yusuf Zalal performance, this is similar, but this is still somebody who was active in that. Like, he stopped, stood his ground, popped you up. Now we're going to go dance, stop, pop you up. Now we're going to dance. Now, when you get to later in the fight with the dick kick, and we get the stoppage, and we get 5+ minutes of Kevin Borjas, is there really an over embellishment that you could call out for this? Like, it's not like you can be like, he shouldn't have took 5 minutes. It's like, you gave him the allotted 5 minutes. So why are you sitting here saying, we got 10 seconds? Are you going to go? Are you going to go? It's like, give him the 5 fucking minutes. We will continue then. Like, I think towards the end of the timer, I agree with what they're saying. Like, yo, if he's not ready to go, he's not going to go. It's like, bro, we still have time on the timer. Can you shut the fuck up? Like, I know he maybe is not necessarily hurt to the extent that needs the 5 minutes. I didn't create the fucking rule, brother. He's just here to take. There are people that take advantage of the rule set because it is a benefit to them. Here's an example.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely, dude. I said the exact same thing, and I see Hydra's in the chat, already
Yes.
anticipating exactly what I'm going to say here. So when it comes to the way that he was fighting in this fight, I agree. Like, I thought that he was entering enough to make it so that the running ass, because I mean, yes, he set the land speed record in this fight. I mean, he was around that octagon so many fucking times. Bro was rivaling Paulo Costa versus Strickland for the distance traveled inside of that cage. I will certainly admit that is the truth. But when you're pairing that with a couple of decent combinations on entry, get in and get out. I mean, now what I would say is, yes, we would like that to be more consistent, right? We would like that to be, maybe not as much of dancing around with more of actual striking. Certainly can agree with you on that. But again, 2 to tango over here. Lima not making it his fight either. So it's like, again, one thing that somebody said, I think it was Johnny the God, shout out to him, on the watch along, he's like, this is your O that was on the line in this fight. By the way, Andre Lima was undefeated coming into this fight, so I don't know if he just thought that he was going to be able to rest on his laurels or whatever the case was. But if you had one round of him doing that for you to realize that is what he was going to do. Now you have to go out and make this your fight. So that's all I want to say about that. Now, when it comes to your point about the foul, I could not agree more. The rules are the rules. If you don't like the rule, make it a 3-minute timeout. If you don't like somebody taking advantage of the rules, then the rules have to change, not the fighter. People say that all the time. That the commentary says it. Why didn't he take the whole 5 minutes, bro? If it was me, man, I mean, I knew that I was tired. Blah blah blah. I would have taken the 5 minutes. Take the 5 minutes. Their 5 minutes are there for you. That's what they are there for. Take them if you have them. It's not his fault. He got kicked in the nuts.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, if it wasn't as painful as it was to take 5 minutes, he was doing a pretty good job of selling it.
Oh,
like
he was definitely selling.
And that's my point. Like, it was believable enough that it's like he's doing the.
You want to know how you could tell 100% that he was selling is because when he came back into the fight, he was pretending like he was still hurt and then immediately switched on a dime. I don't know if you caught that. He literally came back into the fight and was like, bah, and then he went right back into strike. He was really trying to play possum for a second there. Gamesmanship.
And to be fair, he did come out of this break very aggressive. He came out and the fight actually ensued, kind of deal. He brought the fight to Andre Lima, and this is where you actually saw, like, Andre Lima really is not in the mode for a 3-round bout where anything is possible. You're skating by for 2 rounds. Okay, we get a break. Now he expected to come back and just continue skating. It's like he got the fight brought to him for a second, and he just kind of fucking stood there doing his fucking thing.
And that's my other point is also that, everybody's saying, oh, he got 5 minutes to recover. Andre Lima gets that same 5 minutes, people. It's
and
not
he
like
didn't get kicked in the dick.
Right. Great point. Jesus Christ, Cook over here with that one. But yes, that's exactly it. So, I mean, this is not just like one guy gets all, because I mean, we'll talk about Andre Lima's response to all of this. He had something to say about that part of it. But my point is like this, it goes both ways. So, like, yeah, you had the opportunity to come out just as aggressive at that point. We had one more round after this. This was all in the second round. So it's like, where were you in this fight, Andre Lima?
I think the key thing to note, and obviously you talk about the weight miss and you talk about the style of fight, is Kevin Borjas is one of these guys, and it is evident now that you can see it, and you have to see it to believe it, and then obviously a reputation is going to be garnered beyond that. He is the type of guy where if his UFC roster spot is on the line, he's 1-4 coming into this fight. Why would they keep a guy who's 1-5? At flyweight. This is a guy who will take advantage of missing weight, get a purse deduction. I will come in here more hydrated, whatever the case may be. I will be passive as they come when it comes to him striking, but I will set up my game to where only I'm going to look good and not necessarily look great, but I'm going to get the win. You just have to understand that. And then, taking the 5-minute allotted time, of course, this is a guy who's not, in a way, he's going to do what it takes to keep his roster spot, is what it looks like to me. And when you got a guy like Andre Lima, I posted the Ilya meme. He's walking out the White House doing the finger guns. It's like, bro, he came into the Apex thinking, thank you, Uncle Dana. You gave me a 1-4 opponent for me to come out here and style on. I appreciate that. And then here you are. And this is actually a really funny point too. In the third round, Andre Lima clearly has no idea what he's doing because he shoves him up against the cage. He's holding him against the cage, grabbing the cage. The ref continuously does not do a goddamn thing about it. He keeps saying, don't grab that cage. Don't grab that cage. And then he continues to grab the cage. We get separated, which I find was the most irritating thing. He should have asked Borjas if he wanted to stay here because Borjas was very tired at this point, and I'm sure he was very grateful that this dude's just going to hold him up against the cage and do nothing. But if Borjas said, no, keep me on the cage, he's not supposed to grab the cage, brother.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. If he
grabs the cage, you take the fucking point now. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, definitely that. I mean, like, he grabbed the cage more than like 3 times. Ridiculous, but also very baffling because he's grabbing the cage in order to hold his opponent in place. It was a very strange thing to do. So he's literally fouling his opponent for a neutral position, which was very strange. So you're right. Yeah, Borjas should have had the option to be like, no, take me back, take me back to the neutral position.
And obviously people are like, why would you put him back in the position where he's cheating? Bro, he's not supposed to be able to cheat. If you put him back in the position, if you're like, no, we're not standing back. I want my rest. I've earned this after this. We put us back against the cage. And if he touches the cage again with a grip, brother, point deducted. You've already given a hard warning. You've almost separated us. I elected to not go back to the position where the fight is going to continue. No, put us back where I want because it is my choice. He committed the fucking foul. And then if he does it again, brother, you have to do your job. Like, what are we talking about? The referee got bailed out here because he puts him in the standing position where there's no opportunity for him to grab the cage again. Hey, brother, Borjas probably would have loved chill right there because nothing was happening because Andre Lima has no idea that he needs a finish because his team has no idea to tell him that he needs a finish because he probably came into this fight thinking, if I ever lose my undefeated record, I'm just going to go to bantamweight. I'm just going to go to bantamweight and just, that's literally what it feels like. It's like he had no idea that I'm going to push for a finish at the end here. I'm going to keep my undefeated streak. He's like, no, I'm just going to go to bantamweight. I'm just going to go bantamweight.
No, so, yeah, it's crazy that they didn't say that anything about activity for him. But yes, we do have to take a quick pause here. Maniac coming in with the $10 super chat. Keep it up, Thinker. Brother, thank you so much for supporting the show. And I promise I will keep it up, as will Chase. So, Maniac, thank you so much for your generosity, brother. You are very much appreciated, my man.
Absolutely. And this is definitely the fight to give a super chat on because this was a coming out party for the Peruvians. I mean, guys, they went 2-0 on the night. Kevin Borjas, the biggest upset on the card. I mean, I'm not going to say that I told you guys so, but Andre Lima, we knew that he just was not that guy. Like, that's the craziest part.
And the last note that I had about this fight was that this was an entirely deserved loss for Lima. I mean, like, dude, we watch the fight from the outside, and I understand that. I understand we are not in there in the moment, but you have to have some inkling that you are not doing enough. Like, it has to just be a part of your understanding of the fight game. You're an 11, now 12 fight veteran, 11 fights coming into that. Like, you have to have an understanding of where your positioning is as far as who is ahead when it comes to all of this. Now, I don't know if he thought that the foul was going to, help him, or I don't know. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, to be perfectly honest, why he would have thought that any of this was going his way, or that he was doing enough. By round number 3, when the same thing is continuously happening and you are not turning up, Bisping said it himself. He said, I can't believe the corner didn't mention anything about more output, more activity. That's exactly what was needed from him, and I thought was going to happen somewhere in this fight, but it never came. So, dude, you absolutely deserved this, and for this to be your fight that you lost your O on, I think, because he even said, he was like, oh, yeah, I think my mystique must be gone. Ha ha. It's like, yeah, no, it is. Ha, yeah, very, very funny, brother. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking at you with a straight face, like, yeah, dude, you fucked up.
Yeah, no, and that goes back to the point. Of course, Andre Lima has been on Twitter, and we yet to confirm, but it does seem to be the official, kind of thing, his official Twitter page. And not many people have to look at it. I will point out there's only like 900 subscribers on this page, guys. Like, I don't, or followers, whatever you want to say. So not many people are catching this, but
it's not
Andre
active
Lima,
enough to get fans.
That is true. Andre Lima has been making his rounds on X, talking about, this is why Vinicius Oliveira hates you guys. It's because you guys don't shut the fuck up. I come in here, this guy misses weight, he does all this, taking the time shit. I have a foul that I committed that I did not want to, make point in that tweet. And then, he claims that he's going to be moving up in weight to bantamweight. And now this is the most interesting thing when it comes to this, is because he was already very slow, very plodding as a flyweight. We already knew that's not like the normal, that's not the meta for flyweights. You got to be in it. Moving up to bantamweight, I don't know what he's thinking here, because this is like what I'm seeing here. Moving up to bantamweight for Andre Lima is basically what Figueiredo did. And Figueiredo at least had power to knock people down for the first couple fights in his bantamweight run, and then he actually got a submission or whatever. Andre Lima moves up to bantamweight. He's the slow plodding forward kind of guy, probably not even plodding forward anymore at that point. He probably takes on the more back-footed passive role, just like Figueiredo, but I just don't see much success for him at bantamweight, even though bantamweight is a more open division for sure. It's still not the move. I mean, you're just not going to be successful is what I'm seeing here, brother.
Hard to say on that, because I do think that if he actually would let his hands go, he does have decent enough power in his hands to maybe be a problem. I think that the takedown defense is going to be definitely hard for him if he gets higher up in that division. But of course, the extra weight, might not work in his favor for all of that when it comes to better chins and stuff like that. So a little bit hard to say if he would have better success at bantamweight. But with this performance, he would not do well in any division ever.
So the thing about that is, he, in his little Twitter run, he did make a point about that, is they're telling me that I got to punch more, that I need to use my hands. And he said that he's a kicker. He's kicked all his life.
Okay, then do that.
Yeah. That's all he said, brother. He said he's a kicker, man, not a puncher. So moving up to bantamweight with a kick heavy approach, I don't know, brother. He's already very tiny too. He's never seemed like a man. That dude needs to be bantamweight. He's
right.
Towering over his, this dude's like 5'4". Like, what are we talking about here?
No, you're right about that part. Yeah. I mean, again, you can be just a kicker if you want to be a kicker. You have to do anything, do something, do whatever. I mean, you did nothing in this fight. So, I mean, like, it really, again, it could be recency bias, but you're pairing that with an inactivity that makes it so that we don't remember your last fight. If he's saying that this is why Vinicius Oliveira hates people on Twitter or whatever, then that means that there's probably speaking truth to him, is what it sounds like to me. So you can, you can frame it however you want to frame it. And if you want to try to rationalize it in your mind that, this was not as bad as it is, then that's on you. But you just lost to a dude who is 1-4 in the organization as an undefeated fighter, and that is something that is going to stick with you. So again, try to work your way out of it and do mental gymnastics. That's going to be you in your own mind, and congratulations if you can do that. But we don't forget.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, congratulations to Kevin Borjas. You fight on for another day.
Yes, he does.
All right. Well, moving on to the main card, Vinicius Oliveira. We were just talking about him. He fought Andre Fili. Fili, of course, is in on short notice, filling in for Giga Chikadze. I thought that Fili was doing pretty good in this fight for a while. There's actually one specific thing I did want to talk about. We'll talk about it in a little bit, though. Oliveira, I think, probably should have been flyweight, or excuse me, featherweight. Oliveira probably should have been featherweight to begin with. I mean, he is big now. He carries a lot of that weight that he was cutting into this fight, and the power obviously is there as well. I thought that this was a really good scrap while it lasted. Fili had Oliveira hurt to the body before the tides ended up turning, and I definitely want to mention something with that. That's what I'm getting at. But anyway, before I get too far down the line, Chase, what did you think of this fight?
Yeah, this was pretty good. Fight of the night after rewatching it, this was a pretty good scrap. But the
Yeah.
thing that I want to say, Vinicius Oliveira is a dude who we had a lot of hope for in bantamweight, and then he had that upsetting performance where he moves up to featherweight. And people are, is this the performance where, is Vinicius Oliveira back? Is he back? I I like this fight. It's good. When he got hurt to the body, of course, that was a pretty big moment. That was pretty crazy. Like, damn, he put on a little tough face. I actually don't know if he was playing possum or not there. I want to say, the first kick definitely hurt. The second one, it did hurt, but like I want to say he was over embellishing to try to catch him a little bit because he kind of went back to normal. A body shot hurts for a minute,
Well,
guys.
let me say something about this, okay? And I, going back to the initial watch when we were the watch along. I said on the watch along that it looked like, and I really wish that I could remember in the moment that I heard him cry out in pain.
Hmm.
Because I thought I did. I very distinctly, because I know I said something about it on the watch along. It sounded to me, at least at that point, that he actually cried out. If he had cried out in pain, that would have been a verbal tap. I know that I said this on the watch along because what I said is, if you recall, Junior Tafa, right? Like Junior
Hmm.
Tafa out there in Australia, he was in a heel hook. He cried out in pain. Referee rightly stopped that fight. Crying out in pain is a verbal tap in this sport. People might not like it. It might not be how you want a fight to end. It might not look the way that you want a fight to end or whatever, but that is how this works. On the VOD, on the rewatch, you see his mouth open. You see him, where he would be making the sound, no sound to be heard. So I don't know if that was another Paramount Plus, what we talked about on the White House card, tinfoil hat on. Maybe they cut the audio out of that little portion or not. I'm not trying to say that that is what it was. I don't remember clear enough to know if I actually heard him make the sound in that real time. But like you said, it could have just been him playing possum. And if he didn't make the sound when he did put the face on, then actually pretty good job of playing possum.
No, the first one he did make a sound. He did like a like he, like that. That's the sound that he made, and I don't think that's a verbal tap. When Marab got kicked by Peter Yan or whatever, he did the. That's not like a. If you're saying ow 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 uncle, like a verbal tap. But a submission is a little different, of course. But this one right here, the body strikes, the body kicks were great. The two that landed, sent Oliveira into a panic. But he definitely seemed more able than most people who get hit with body shots. That's why I was like, man, that must have been really good, or he really is tough. Because the thing about Vinicius, unfortunately, I've realized it after this performance. This is somebody that you should just not bet on. He will go into the fight and injure himself in the process. He landed like 13 low kicks, and after the 14th one, his leg literally almost fucking broke, and he's hobbling around for a second, retreating. Andre Fili is doing fucking nothing, like he's literally just walking him down. And then Vinicius switches to his other leg, almost fucking hobbles himself again. Then you want to talk about the body strikes that like this dude, when you pair that stuff with the fact that he gets in your face with his hands down, it's a recipe for disaster, guys. Don't be surprised. Mario Batista was the perfect type of dude to not really expose how bad that can be because he's more real technical when it comes to the grappling and stuff. When it comes to a very technical striker, that's why I think Giga Chikadze was going to be a pretty bad matchup for this dude. When it comes to technical striking, there is a reason, there is a science behind technicality and why it works over the unorthodox methods. A 1-2, a straight 1-2 can do a lot of work. There are times where Vinicius Oliveira keeps getting punched in the face and he just like, scrubs his goatee or whatever. Like he was getting hit. Andre Fili was having the moments. Vinicius Oliveira just went ape shit kind of deal at the end, towards the end of the fight. I think he kind of realized that his body was hurting a lot. Like his legs, I'm telling you, the way that he was limping in the first, I was thinking he was going to TKO himself, to be fair. And that's where the problem lies, is if you are somebody who's looking at Vinicius like, this is my ticket right here, he may up and just snap his fucking leg one day, guys. Like he's throwing caution without a win to these. And there's something about, somebody who will throw a kick as hard as they possibly can. But like, brother, he's still throwing it when they check the kicks. Andre Fili was getting kicked and he did not have as much damage on him. After you kick them and you limp, cut it. Cut it out the game plan. Like it ain't working, brother. And obviously it did, but Andre Fili had the moments. He fucking hurts him to the body. The coaches are yelling, go high with the kick. He goes high. If fucking Vinicius blocks it, and then he does nothing. And then Andre Fili just does nothing, and then we get a break. We come back to round two, and then Andre Fili, this dude is tough. He doesn't wear damage very much throughout the fights. He rolls with a lot of punches. He, again, 31 leg kicks thrown, 30 landed, and the dude who was limping was the dude who fucking threw them. I mean, like, good on Andre Fili for that aspect. He made sure Vinicius is not going to have a fight for a couple fucking months. I'll tell you that. But the finishing sequence at the end, Vinicius Oliveira just throws caution to a win. He just starts spamming punches, knees, throws elbows, and we get the illegal sequence that kind of ends this fight here. And upon replay, when you're watching it live, I remember thinking like, man, he got like 4 or 5 illegal strikes on him. But when you do the rewatch, it is really just one illegal strike.
I'm glad that you say that. Yeah.
But the problem is that we had just seen a video broken down by Herb Dean of where this illegal area is. And if you remember, it's right there or whatever. That motherfucker got elbowed right in his at the top of his spine, like the where Dr. Octopus had his shit put in. That dude got elbowed right in there, bro. Like fuck,
Yeah.
not even just elbowed, but elbowed so hard that his skull was bleeding afterwards.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm glad that you framed it that way too, because we were watching it on the in the initial watch, and it did look like some of those were illegal. You see, I'm very glad that they showed the overhead angle, like they showed the top down angle of it, because yes, then you do see that based on what Herb Dean, who was also reffing this fight, by the way, he did say, you have the nape of the neck, and then it's that 1-inch strip, and that's smaller than I had thought. I had heard that it was basically like a couple of inches going up there, but it's a tiny little area on the top of the back of the head or whatever. So you look at it again, it is one that is illegal, but that should be enough to be the problem. You know what I mean? One illegal strike is too many, is one too many.
My thing about it is also, and this is no coincidence, I think Vinicius Oliveira saw that he had the potential on his hand to prove Herb Dean wrong. In a sense, that wasn't what he was doing. He saw Herb Dean, as his ref, and he thought to himself, I might be able to get away with some shit. I might be able to do it. He ain't gonna fucking do anything about it.
I literally, when this fight was starting, go back to the VOD of the watch along. I literally said all he has to do is just illegally strike him in the back of the head. All he has to do is elbow him in the back of the head. And what did he do? He elbowed him in the back of the head. This guy, Vinicius Oliveira, is a fucking dirtball. I do not like this guy. He had the nerve to come out on Twitter yelling at John and at Andre Fili, because Andre Fili had gone over and had a discussion with Herb about it after the fight or whatever. Rightly so, I would say. This guy has been a piece of shit, and I think will continue to be a piece of shit, is what it seems like to me. I've never liked him, and he's only becoming more unlikable now. So, all of this tracks that he would have done that and then would act that way thereafter. So I don't know if he did it specifically knowing that he would get away with it, but he shouldn't be able to get away with it. How crazy is it that you had that twice in 2 weeks, and one of them was at the fucking White House?
Yeah, and this one makes it even worse. And this is not necessarily something that matters, but after the fight, Andre Fili is getting looked at by Herb Dean and some guy from the commissions or whatever. They're looking at the back of his head, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. It's because, like, bro, they're just gonna look at your head and say, That's
Yeah.
yeah. What do you want me
Always.
to
I
do?
mean, we say this all the fucking time. This is what we talk about when it comes to accountability and the oversight of this sport. The commission and Herb is seeming to be more and more that way, where it's just like he cannot let himself take an L. And the commission's the same way. So it's like, when was the last time you saw a fight overturned after the fact, except for with fucking what's his name when it was wrongly overturned in the same event 2 fights later? Padilla,
Yeah.
Chris Padilla. So my point in saying that is that if they rarely change their decisions because they need, it's like an umpire in baseball. What I say goes kind of thing. The ump is the last word on everything. The buck stops here. They want to have that authority. You have to enforce the rule set that in a way that makes you that authority. You don't just get to say this our way goes and selectively enforce the rules. You don't command authority that way.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate for Andre Fili because this is a guy who is pretty tough, and the round ended at 4 minutes 56 seconds. That illegal strike really was the reason that it didn't go to the third round. Potentially, and that was the reason that he wasn't able to have a hobbled fucking opponent for the third round. Vinicius Oliveira, credit to him, he got the finish. But the strike that really sealed the deal for the audience was obviously the shot to the back of the head. And it's just unfortunate for Andre Fili. Like you said, they're probably not going to overturn it. If they did, it would be unfortunate, but it would make sense. I would say it
I
would
don't think
make
it would be
sense for me.
unfortunate at all. I mean, I think like, look,
It would be unfortunate. Oliveira's career at featherweight is the first bout that he has as a fucking no contest. Let me say it that way.
And I'll give you that. And it would also be unfortunate because he didn't need to do it. That would be the
Correct.
unfortunate part to me. I mean, like, that was the craziest thing about all of this in the big picture is that he was going to win this fight. Like, he was in the process of finishing this fight. Like, I mean, had he just taken a different shot, it would have still got the same outcome potentially. So,
It,
yeah.
if you remember the old clip when they were talking about why the 12-6 is illegal, it's like because they saw karate guys breaking boards like that. Like this was literally that. Like this was the I'm gonna break the board type of elbow to the back of the head.
Oh yeah, and not for nothing because I think that this gets lost in the conversation, and I'm glad somebody did this. I'm in a couple of discussion groups, MMA discussion groups, and somebody posted the picture of the boxer. I forget his name off the top of my head, but I know that everybody who knows what I'm talking about will know what I'm talking about. I mean, this is a guy who became paralyzed because of shots to the back of the head. So when we talk about these things, I mean, like, yeah, you get kicked in the nuts, it sucks. You're hurt for a while, whatever. Certain different fouls are maybe worse than others, but like there are real world consequences to some of these things, and back of the head shots can be among the most devastating. So like when we talk about this stuff, like don't just think it's like, oh, these guys are just salty about a fighter losing or something like that. We're talking about the safety of these fighters in a way bigger picture sense here. So I really think that this, like, of all things, like, when it comes to the commission and judging, and we talk about how judging is fucked up, whatever, that's one thing. Fighter's record, not nowhere near as important as these fighters being able to use their limbs going forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely think that that is definitely something that we need to keep. The moment we stop caring about it is when it's going to get bad. So I think Andre Fili, at least bare minimum, having the side panel, after the fight where they can look at him. I know I joke like they're not going to do anything, but like bare minimum, that's what we got. It's better than a lot of people get. So I would say there's at least that portion of it. Vinicius Oliveira, I still just think he is a very tough fighter to bet on. I at featherweight, me personally, when I see a fight like this, I'm like, I would love to see like him and Tommy McMillan, but it really is Vinicius Oliveira going to keep being able to punk people on the back foot with his hands down is the real question, because it's only a matter of time before he fucking leg kicks himself out of the fight. Like I've already seen it, bro. Like Andre Fili, he didn't even check a lot of them. Like some he did, but some Vinicius Oliveira was just throwing as hard as he fucking could for no fucking reason. Like I mean, like I'm not trying to say like you shouldn't try to attack as hard as you can, but like leg kicking yourself out of the fight was almost the lowest IQ move that I think I've seen. Like, bro, when he threw the kick and he hobbled away, I'm like, oh my God. And then he came back and threw the other leg and then hobbled away again. I'm like, bro, like you are tough. I get it. You don't need to prove it anymore. Like the moment that the moment that it bites you is really where it's going to be like, bro, you moved up to a new division. This was supposed to be your coming out party. You were supposed to have a good flow of stuff. And now you've injured yourself. Like, This dude is on two crutches right now. Like he's hobbling around. Both of his legs are fucked right now. It's just nuts.
Yeah, no, I mean he is the definition of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Really, it seems. I mean, because he's another, he's got that Bobby Green hands low kind of thing. Like
Yes.
I said on the broadcast, the only thing he's missing is doing that motion. Doing the hands in the front, kind of the saw motion. But he's certainly confident. I'll give him that. But like, this is like flying too close to the sun. It would feel like to me. And yeah, I think that this he's going to get checked pretty hard. The bigger they are, the harder they fall when it comes to these types of confidence levels. And yeah, it can only last so long. So keep putting your face right in front of your opponent at striking range. Keep throwing those kicks when you really shouldn't be throwing those kicks. And we will see what happens to you in the big picture. I am praying on your downfall, Vinicius Oliveira.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, moving on then. Before we do though, shout out to James Bjorn again coming in the chat, bro. Appreciate you tuning in, brother. Hope your travels are going well. All right. Next up on the list here, we're getting into the continuing this stretch of finishes. This finish heavy main card here. This is Melsik Baghdasaryan versus Murtazali Magomedov. Of course, the debuting Magomedov. This guy might have made a little bit of history, perhaps, maybe.
Oh yeah, he definitely did. I mean, I would say this is the first. They call it the Scottish Twister, is what I have been familiar with. If you know a little bit of the history, everybody has named this move after their country. I've seen it called the Mexican Twister, the Russian Twister, anything that you want to say. This Twister, it is different and it is unique. Not only was he the second. I think this might have been the second Scottish Twister in the UFC. I could be
Well,
wrong.
that was my question. Was this the actual first Scottish Twister, or is this just a number? One of the many. But it's certainly a low number. I mean, this is a rare submission that you see.
Yeah, I'm not too positive on it. First, second, obviously it is a twister, so there's only four people who have done those or whatever, and he's one of them kind of deal.
Right.
So shout out to him for this. What I will say about this, and this is, I was talking about this on UFC BJJ. This is a submission that I think a kickboxer who is not necessarily adept to grappling and has much experience in the grappling. And now it does look like it hurts. It does look like it hurt. I'm not trying to say anything. I don't want to take credit from him. I would have tapped too, brother. But I think at a certain point, maybe you would, like, your physiology, you would say like my spine's going to be okay, kind of deal. Like I can only bend so far and he can only get so much leverage. I think maybe if we had somebody who was more of a credentialed kind of person when it came to grappling, maybe they wouldn't have tapped as quick, I would say, or they wouldn't get into that position per se. Now, the other thing that I will say to that is we posted the clip of Gage Young. Thiago Moises had the same almost kind of choke, kind of, or whatever you want to call it, fucking bend, squeeze, contortion, and to the point that Gage Young did not tap. He did not have it in as deep. Thiago Moises had his hand wrapped around his head and he was, contorting him. Murtazali had him all the way around the fucking underarm. So he was done, bro. Like, this was a crazy twister. I don't know if everybody would have tapped to this, but I will say a kickboxing world champion probably should have, and he did, and Murtazali made quick work of him. And it sucks that Baghdasaryan, I hate to say this because I like to be impressed. I like to be wrong. When I say this dude should not be on the main card, like, he should just not be making his way to a main card, even of an Apex, bro. Like, I've seen him come out here and get finished twice now. It's like, and he's only done it twice, and he only fights once a year. I hate to say that this is what I expected. I expected Murtazali, bro. He's from Kyrgyzstan. They have grappling there, guys. They get you down and they will just rip you apart. Like, I don't know. It's not surprising to me that this happened. I just hate that Melsik Baghdasaryan never upset my idea of him. He never became anything more than just, there's that Armenian guy that's going to come out here and lose, like, fuck.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly what we were saying about it coming into this when we were doing the predictions. I mean, Baghdasaryan has not done anything in the UFC that is of note to the point of saying this is a guy that needs to be here. This is a guy who, man, he might have had a bad performance there, but he was going up against John Silva. It's like, no, that this is just, when he was fighting John Silva, we were saying, why is this who they're setting John Silva up with? And now you have a debuting fighter who, like, we had talked about this on the predictions too. I was saying I had heard people kind of rumbling about Murtazali. I was saying, oh, this guy might be, a better caliber of entering fighter than what you'd be expecting from the Contender Series. So it's like he had a little bit of a buzz surrounding him, at least in, kind of the hardcore circles or whatever. They put Baghdasaryan up against him to give him this win, to have a Scottish twister. So you have a perfect highlight to set him up for going forward. You can only be the crushed can so many times at a high level. And to your point, it shouldn't be on the main card. This is not main card worthy. This would have been as impressive as a win had it been the featured prelim or anywhere on the prelims, really, like, because it's not about the dynamics of the fight. It's about the finish. So it's like,
Yeah.
that could have happened anywhere. This is going to be a highlight no matter where it happens. And Baghdasaryan just still being around at this point to be this guy, I think that your rope is getting a little bit short.
Yeah, I feel bad for the stereotype of the fighter who's just here to be fed to the very fucking good prospects. Think about Baghdasaryan, dude. They gave him John Silva, and they're like, yeah, we got this guy. He's a striker, and then he gets decimated by him, and he comes into this one seeing 10-0 all finishes. Like, you can only have so much hope for yourself, but you got to imagine, like, you got to question, like, why does the organization hate me? Like, I don't know. I don't know Baghdasaryan.
Well, it reminds me of my Cro-Magnon king, Jamie Malarkey. I was a fan of Jamie Malarkey, and he was a dude who we said time and time again was getting set up in that exact way. And what did they do? They used him up and then they cut him. And I hate that because I remember very distinctly in his last loss saying that they need to give this guy a layup at this point for all of the time and effort he has put into showing up every single time, losing consistently, unfortunately, and still trying his hardest. Baghdasaryan's a little bit different to me, though. I mean, he's certainly in this fight. He did have a couple of decent strikes. I mean, he started off with a couple, so it was like, all right, you're at least starting a little bit quicker than you did with John Silva. But at least with Jamie Malarkey, I had seen times where I was like, he's got heart. I have not seen heart out of this guy. That's again where the candle is burning to the end of the wick here.
Yeah, this one's an unfortunate, but Murtazali, hopefully good things to come. We haven't really seen much of him. He came in here and submitted the guy that we knew he should have submitted. So we have to see where his skills actually lie. And I'm a big fan of guys from Kyrgyzstan. They normally do not disappoint. So
Absolutely. Yeah, most definitely. So, again, another more data needed kind of situation when it comes to Murtazali. But yeah, certainly got the win here. And we'll see how long they do decide to keep Baghdasaryan around to lose. But, I like I said, the reason I brought Jamie Malarkey up too is, like I said, I thought he deserved a layup fight. This guy probably just deserves to get cut. I don't know.
yeah.
So
Yep.
we'll see. We'll see how they end up playing that one. But either way, congratulations to Murtazali Magomedov. Moving on down the line here, Hyder Amil fought Christian Rodriguez, and I might have said it, maybe arguably misapplied, perhaps about Mitch Raposo, but I said in this fight, I think it is time to start changing the thinking about Christian Rodriguez. I think that C-Rod, after a win like this, after the finishing sequence in this fight, I think that maybe I've been underestimating him a little bit too much at this point.
I would not say that. I will. No. I will say
Generational hater. No, I'm kidding.
no. The Christian Rodriguez, rightfully so, you should not have placed much stock into him before, because there was a point where he would only beat guys who were on their first or second UFC bout, and he would lose to anybody who was not, kind of deal. But I remember saying on the podcast, he's 28 years old. There has got to be a point with a guy who I feel is actually talented, he could be something if he really applied himself. There's got to be a point at 28 years old. It's either now or it's not going to happen at all. Like, you're going to have to turn it around to become that good fighter, or you're going to be the Daniel Zellhuber. Like, you're going to be the Alex Hernandez. Like, people are waiting for that day that you finally put it together. You have a good stretch, and then you get right back down to where you started, kind of deal. Christian Rodriguez, I don't know if it was a new team that he was with, but I know Anthony Pettis was in his corner for this one.
He was a former student of Duke Rufus, who unfortunately passed away. So R.I.P. to Duke.
So when I did not know any of this circumstance going in, who was going to be in his team or whatever, if it was different from before. But my point is, Now or never is what the mindset's got to be. This is the performance that's got to set you on the trajectory to go upwards. And I truly believe that. Like, that was supposed to be what this performance is going to be for Christian Rodriguez. And he came out with his little pencil thin mustache. I don't know if you caught that. I love it. I love it. And he came out here and made a guy. Hyder Amil was another guy who had some hype, got knocked down, and it's looking for that way back up. He's a tough guy. He's older. And Christian Rodriguez really pulled out a performance that nobody expected from him. We know he's a wrestler. We know he's a grappler. The striking didn't necessarily look as crazy as it ended up being at the end because Christian Rodriguez is not a striker. He is a grappler. He's a wrestler at the end of the day, but proving to a lot of people that you could knock down this dude who's got a block of a head, of course, because shout out to Hyder Amil for not going unconscious during this fucking kick is one thing.
True.
But I also want to give a big shout out to Mike Beltran because this is one of the best stoppages that I think we've seen in a while because Hyder Amil got decimated. He's on the mat and you see Mike get in there and then he steps back and you're like, that's what I'm fucking talking about. And then obviously Christian Rodriguez gets to the high arm guillotine. Hyder Amil, once you see the gilly set in, I mean, you know what's happening, but damn, Hyder Amil is tough because it lasted a lot longer than it should have, but he unfortunately goes to sleep. Christian Rodriguez comes away victorious, and this was the performance that I think he needed, even though by your standard, you think this is a good level up. This is exactly what he needed. I agree. This was like lightning in a bottle right now. If he goes back to being ass, listen, this was it right here. We've capsulated it, whatever. Don't say this is the level up yet because you got to do it again, brother. You can't just have the one performance after you've stunk it up and me to just certainly believe in you now. Like I believed in you here. I thought this is the moment, but now you got to prove me right. Prove me right that this is what you needed to become great now. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus, let's go.
You make a good point with that because it is like, I mean, he is coming off of 2 previous losses before that too. So it's, fair. I think that you're being very, very even handed with this. But as far as the actual dynamics of this finish, I mean, this was picture perfect really for him. I have to say, like, if it is lightning in a bottle, then it's a big lightning bolt because I mean, this thing was really, really nice. He shin to chin, perfect head kick. Almost crazy that Hyder got caught with it the way that he did because Hyder Amil, he's a stand-up boxer through and through. I mean, this guy has trouble with the ground game. I mean, we've seen him struggling to, when he gets clinched up and gets taken down. These are the problems for him. So you'd think that he would not be the guy to get caught with his hands low, but he certainly did here. So shin to chin connection. Picture perfect there. Rodriguez transitions to the guillotine, and you said it yourself. I mean, that guillotine, like you see the setup of it, it is so again, I use the words, but I'll use them again because they are the only right term. Picture perfect. Like that is how, when you see people attempting guillotines in a scramble situation, this is what they're hoping to get. You know what I mean? Like they're like, if they actually are able to find that positioning where the head is, the neck is so tightly positioned right there, the head is fully out and everything, like you just, the crank is exactly where you want it to be. This is what they are hoping to get. So that guillotine was in so perfectly. Hyder ends up lifeless at the end of this thing, which was unfortunate based on the fact that he was able to withstand the kick in the first place. But really different dynamics, but very similar to Alexa Grasso, with the way that she did Macy Barber there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, this one was a great finish. It's unfortunate for Hyder Amil. But with a fight like this, for somebody like Hyder Amil on the losing end, as somebody who loves martial arts, of course, like you see that and you're like, man, that's one tough guy, man. He was really not gonna stop until he was probably dead, and we saw him lifeless. So as close as they get, unfortunately. But Christian Rodriguez, I think this could be the start of something big, but I need you to believe as much as me, Christian Rodriguez, because you seem like the type of dude that will just go home and smoke hella blunts after a fight like this, brother. Like, I mean, I hate to break it to you, I could be wrong, but like, you seem like you don't take it as serious as you probably could. You are skilled enough that like you've put in the time, you've put in the effort, you obviously have some genetic gifting towards this sport kind of deal. This guy could be something. If you believe in me, Christian Rodriguez, I believe in you, brother. We can do this together.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that I believe that he's Extreme Couture now. So
Yes.
that's a gym that has put forth some really great competitors. So did Duke. I guess really what I would say is it's like, yeah, sure, he's at a new gym, and hopefully this is the thing that will help him under obviously less than ideal circumstances, him ending up there. But if he wasn't getting it done under a great coach previously, you got to do it under this team now. Like, make it work. Again, it's a horrible situation to have to be in, to lose your coach like that and have to make that change by force. But this is still your opportunity. So whether it's good or bad circumstances, you have to make the most of it. And you certainly could do a lot worse when it comes to the new team. Like, this is exactly the team. If you're going to have to go to a new team, this is definitely one that can make you a champion, or make you at that level, make you the best version of yourself.
And I actually think you're bringing up a good point. Not to harp too much on it, and not make a big deal about anything. Christian Rodriguez, having a coach pass, who knows what Duke Rufus had told Christian Rodriguez. Maybe he told him, like, dude, you have the potential to be, the crazy, one of the craziest dudes in the sport. And after his passing, maybe Christian Rodriguez is finding a new motivation. Like, man, I got to make him proud, not only him, but like that would make myself proud, as by living up to the image that he saw of me. That would be fulfilling. Who knows how deep this is going for Christian Rodriguez? Obviously, takes a toll, grief and all that stuff. But if there is a new level of motivation, this is not necessarily the worst set of circumstances. I mean, obviously, yes, it is, but the worst well to dig from for motivation. Excuse me.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're exactly right on that. I mean, tragedy is a part of life, unfortunately. It's never what you want. But if you can use it as the fuel to become the best version of yourself, then that's the best possible outcome, I would say.
I mean, look at someone like Edgar Shires. $20 and a tank of gas or whatever it was. Grandpa gave him the truck, or something like that. Like that. That's something that resonates. And I think Christian Rodriguez, good things are amongst you. Just get as serious as I feel like you need to be. Let me just say that.
I hope so. Yeah, let's hope that this is the start of great things here. And as far as Hyder Amil, I mean, you bring up his age a lot, and I've never really thought of him as like an older fighter necessarily. He's 36 is not the oldest, but it is older in this sport. And I mean, coming off of several losses now, I mean, one stock maybe possibly going up, but one stock kind of dropping off, it would seem, and it sucks. I mean, he's one of the few Filipino fighters that we have in the UFC right now. If only, I think he might be the literal only one. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, as the only Filipino fighter, this is an unfortunate situation to be in, but again, another now or never situation for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do like Hyder Amil. I think he gave a good reputation to the Filipino fighters. Everybody knows this dude's tough. Filipinos, they're cool, but yeah, it's unfortunate that he probably is not going to be around too much longer.
Yeah. So either way, though, good job, Christian Rodriguez. Hopefully more good to come, and we'll see if they do end up keeping Hyder Amil around.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're tearing right through this thing with all these quick finishes, as we kind of said earlier. But that brings us to the co-main event of the evening, which, of course, is Iwan Cutelaba versus Navajo Stirling. We kind of predicted this would, that the Navajo Stirling was going to win this fight. I don't think that we could have necessarily predicted the finish of this fight, because it was not something that you see very often, I would say. The way that this fight ended, Iwan Cutelaba, like what I say about this fight, Iwan Cutelaba was doing pretty damn well in this fight early on. I think that he took round one pretty handily. He was controlling a lot. He himself got silly with the guillotine a little bit, he had a silly gilly there, almost got it mounted, but Stirling was able to evade that. So good job to Stirling for staying composed. That, I think, what I would also say, just to start this thing off, is that Navajo Stirling, his composure is very impressive to me, because it seems like nothing phases him. The way that he fights, it almost feels like more should phase him. But in this fight, obviously, that it worked out to his benefit, and in his previous fights as well. So fair enough there. But somewhere around the 1 minute 30 mark of round two, Navajo starts his own wrestling. And the commentary was talking about Navajo Stirling's cardio being possibly the problem. Oh, he's more of a striker, so having him wrestle might be a thing that could wear his cardio down. But then we see the end of this fight, where Iwan Cutelaba sat there on the ground and just took a bunch of unanswered shots to the face, not trying to get out of the way of those shots, to the point where he was having a conversation with the referee. And I posted
All
that
right.
images in the Discord. So I had to say, you got to know that he was literally communicating with the referee, I guess, to say, I'm done with this fight. That's the only thing I could think of. But it was almost surreal, is the only reason I bring that.
Yeah, this fight, it definitely was interesting because from coming off of, and listen, Navajo Sterling, if you are somebody that is keeping up with the podcast, I appreciate you, brother, and I know you are going to hate that I am never satisfied, but that is what greatness is about, brother. The last fight, I realized, like I saw, like, man, that's what we need from him. The grappling defense, keeping him on the feet, having the solid striking. I remember him looking a lot faster. Let me say this: he looked very slow in this performance. I don't know if he's always looked this slow, but
Yeah, I was
Navajo did
gonna.
not.
Yeah, when do you remember him being faster? Because he's
He
kind of a
he
plotty
was
guy.
not he was not fast, but I remember him being a little faster than what we had here. Let me
Fair
just
enough.
say that. But Navajo Sterling, got taken down a lot more times than I thought he was going to. Cutelaba is not necessarily the craziest wrestler. I mean, crazy, yes, but in terms of skill, the wrestling is not necessarily the greatest.
Right.
He took you down a couple different times. Obviously, that guillotine that was tight, brother. I mean, and yes, you are talking about the composure. I agree. Navajo, he does have aura to him. He's calling out the guys that the fights fell through. No, we're gonna run that shit. And I really appreciate that out of him. I mean, we're clearing out the light heavyweight division. Anybody he's able to get it. Even in his post fight speech, it's like, I'm not looking. I don't have many names, but if anybody is ready to scrap, I'm always here, and I really appreciate that. For somebody who's 10-0, he doesn't necessarily have like that confidence, that overconfidence kind of deal. He really has like the idea that I'm just here to make money and fight. 10-0 is just like the byproduct of what I do on the off day. He is very good, very composed, massive. This dude is huge. Like, if for light heavyweight, this dude is crazy physique. Obviously, punches hard as shit. I remember him having faster punches. Let me say that. But this one, he did exactly what needed to do. He kind of broke down Cutelaba. He actually even said, so when it comes to the final sequence, let me know if this changes your mind a little bit. And then I have something to say about him talking to the ref, of course.
Mhm.
Navajo Sterling came out and said, like, everybody thinks that he quit. No, I need him in the stomach. And he went, huh, and then he fell over, and that's when I finished him. So whether you believe that or not, I think another thing that is valid is there was a referee who said, there was something about backstage to the fighters. He said, if you ever need out, give me the look and I'll call it. I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the guy who calls the fight early kind of deal. I think Cutelaba probably was like saying, like, bro, just come on, like, come
All right.
on. And I hate to say that because it kind of ruined his fucking aura. I'm not gonna lie to you. Cutelaba, you wanted this fight. You wanted this fight back on April 4th, brother. And you didn't get it then. And you got here now and you put on your wild man performance. You did a decent job. Actually, the funny thing about round one, and this is where Cutelaba, I don't think he's never here to win by points. Like, that's just really all it comes down to. Because in flurries, when he is getting punched, he will do this I'm dazed kind of, I'm wobbled, I'm playing possum kind of deal. And this is bad on multiple parts because as a judge, you're watching this. How do you score it? Do you believe that he's hurt? If you do, well, he just lost the round. If you score it as, oh, he's just playing possum, he's doing nothing. He's literally doing nothing,
Oh
brother.
yeah, no,
Like,
I brought that exact same point up on the watch along. Actually, I was like, yeah, it's a very slippery slope when you try to play that game because you're obviously you're trying to bait your opponent in, but you have to capitalize on that in a way that counteracts what you just did. And if you don't get that, then it's just bad optics.
because if you're so good at it, you should lose the round because the judges should be like, man, he's really hurt. Like, he got, like, it, if you
You have to
sell
sell,
it
but you
that
can't.
good.
Right, you have to sell, but you can't sell too hard. Right.
Exactly. Like, that's the craziest part. The fighter that you're fighting has to believe that it's like, even when you go back to Cutelaba with Ankalaev, the first one where the fight got stopped because he wanted to do all that shit, the ref genuinely believed that he was hurt. Like, so it's a problem from Cutelaba. Obviously, he's never going in there to win by points, but the way that he went out was unfortunately a way that I never expected him to. Like, this is a guy that I figured was going to fight to the end. He's going to be on his back just throwing punches until he gets finished. But no, he actually just sat in the corner, curled up, and just let the ref finish the fight. Whether he was tired or not, like, bro, we've seen people be tired. Bro, like, come on, you're supposed to be fraud checking people. Now you gotta just sit here and let this dude beat on you. Like, come on, bro.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Well,
you took away a great finish from Navajo. That's the problem here. It's like you you are the guy who's building a name off of upsetting all these prospects. Now, when the prospect's upsetting you, now you don't let that. He doesn't put Navajo over. Like, come on.
True. Yeah. No. And look, if it was the situation where he was giving the ref the look and that was what that was, then fair enough. He certainly did that because I mean Navajo saying that, oh, it was a knee to the stomach, and then he just sat there and took it from that. Bro, we've seen knees to the stomach. Like, the difference. God damn it! Come on, give me a break, bro. He was not trying to do anything because that's what people were saying on the watch along. There's, oh, it's not that he was quitting. He just couldn't do anything. Bro, he was awake and he was talking to the referee. He was having a conversation. He could have turned his body. He could have crawled his way out. He could have grabbed a leg. He could have done a million different things besides sitting there and taking 30 unanswered strikes to the face and having a conversation. It's as easy as that. So, I mean, all of those things equal up to, really a very bizarre circumstance for this specific fighter. Because exactly what you were saying earlier, this is supposed to be the wild man. He's the wild card of all of this stuff. This is the guy that's like, you never know what's going to happen with this guy. Well, now we know if he gets into a situation where he just decides he no longer can stand it anymore, then he's going to have a conversation and talk his way out of the fight. And that is just, I mean, if you thought you couldn't bet on Iwan Cutelaba before, I mean, I don't know how you bet on Iwan Cutelaba.
Yeah. What I will say about this that is unfortunate too, and let me know if I'm making sense, or let me know if it's not, because I said this before and I don't think the message got across. Navajo Sterling is a part of City Kickboxing.
Correct.
There is a champ in the light heavyweight division that is in City Kickboxing. Now, whether or not we deem that he was, the best guy for the opportunity, or, he is the champion. Set that aside for a second. But for what we believe, Carlos Olberg is not necessarily the best in the division when it comes to. I mean, if Alex was still here, he'd be the champ. Like Ankalaev is still. Whatever you want to say. Like Carlos Olberg, fit into someplace. But for what it is, Carlos Olberg is better than Navajo Sterling. So where do I see him fitting into the equation? Obviously, they're not going to fight each other for the belt or anything. But if what it took for Carlos Olberg to get the belt, and we still slight him for his skill set, he's better than Navajo, so I would assume we are going to have very little hope for where he's going to go in the division later on, if that makes sense. Like, we already didn't believe in Carlos Olberg, and he went and did it, and people are still going to, oh, well, Yuri, let him fucking, whatever you want to say. Navajo Sterling is like a couple levels down from where Olberg is. Obviously, a lot more experience, different types of fighters, but I don't know if I see the same amount of success for Carlos Olberg when I didn't necessarily see the success for Carlos Olberg, if that makes sense.
Well, for Navajo Sterling, yeah, I know. Yeah, I gotcha. Right, yeah. I mean, it's a tough call with that because again, it goes back to what I was saying about Sterling's composure. Like, it feels like the way that he fights, he should be a little bit more anxious because he doesn't make it seem like he's actively like he doesn't put the pieces of the puzzle together like in a way that is satisfying when it comes to what about the conventions of winning a fight. Like, I'm going to start striking, I'm going to get the upper hand, I'm going to avoid takedowns, all these. It's like he always feels like he's hanging on by a thread in these fights, even when he's not. I mean, even when he's doing better than this, it feels like there are just elements of it that are not like clicking correctly. So if he somehow locks into the point of like maybe making it more like dominant to the point where you're not feeling that way anymore as an outside observer, then maybe that perception changes. Also, if he loses, that certainly would change the dynamic a little bit here. He is 10-0. He is still undefeated. As of right now, it's like it's the same point of what we were talking about with Juana Santos, where it's like you're working your way up this division. This is a light division. Light heavyweight is one of the lightest divisions right now in the sport currently. We talk about how the makeup at the top of it is all over the place, and very, I've been saying that we need to just, complete reset of it. If you're going to be a part of that new wave of that reset, so to speak, or getting yourself into the equation higher up, you're going to be swimming with sharks at that point. And I don't know if that composure necessarily goes the same distance anymore.
Yeah, I absolutely hear you. Yeah, no, this one was just an interesting performance because you took away a good finish from Navajo. He probably was going to get it, at least by my estimates, but Cutelaba just kind of sitting there waiting for the ref to do his job really just doesn't hit the same. It ruins the stigma that Cutelaba had for me, kind of deal. And Navajo, it took away from the performance that he was having. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I mean, like I hear that because a highlight always looks better than that. I mean, I still think it's a fine finish because if you watched the fight, he wasn't, in my estimation, I didn't think he was winning this fight up until that point. To be perfectly honest, I thought that Cutelaba was doing a pretty good job with controlling everything. I think he took round one pretty decisively, personally. So I do think that it's still a fine win. It does rob him of the highlight, perhaps. I mean, they could still, get the clip of him just wailing on him. That also works. But really, on the other side, I think that that's the bigger volume speak right now. The louder speaking goes to Cutelaba, and the fact that we talked about RDR quitting on the stool, brother. You're quitting, mid fight, just again like with no real reason aside from like how that is when a fight is about to be stopped, when it's like you have no option but to allow the punches. Like, that if you're knocked out or if you're just incapacitated, whatever, you are just allowing yourself to lose the fight, like is what it looked like. Optically, it was terrible. So I think that if anybody is coming away from this thing tarnished, it is certainly Cutelaba. An undefeated fighter is going to stay, doing just fine after getting a finish win. Cutelaba, I mean, again, and also the other part of that too, this is a person who just did that, who is 20-12.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
just not good.
Yeah, it's really not, but it is what it is. Navajo Sterling walks away with a W, so that's all we can be happy about. I just Cutelaba, man, I really hate bro. You were really you were somebody that I was coming around to a lot, man. I really like this guy. April 4th. If you would have got that fight, man, I think you would have done a lot better. But this one was not it.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been that wild card maverick of a fighter that makes it very entertaining. But if you lose that, then really you have no aura left at all at that point, which is really bad for you. Because if you're going to be a spotty fighter, at least make it entertaining, which is how you were getting by. But with that kind of changes the dynamic.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Well, shout out to Navajo Sterling for the nice one. Also, I did want to mention a shout out to Navajo Sterling's dad. I don't know if you saw that little clip that was going around
I
of
did not.
oh yeah, there's a nice little clip of Navajo Sterling's dad. I guess he was back home in New Zealand there, watching the fights on TV, and he was celebrating the win, and it was just a nice feel good moment for the Sterling family.
I liked his post fight speech too, where he said, "Fraud, check these nuts." That was a good part.
Absolutely, yeah. There you go. Be a little bit more of a talk, gain a little bit of a personality, so that I don't have to keep saying that you have the personality of a shallow puddle.
No, Navajo's cool, man. I think he's just not a long talker kind of guy.
True, yeah, man. A few words, stoic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to the main event of the evening here. Before we do, though, shout out to the 10-7 MMA. Congratulations on your 40 unit hit, my man. Yamashow.com for all your merchandise needs, of course.
Hell yeah.
Main event of the evening here, though, of course, was Manel Kape versus Kyoji Horiguchi. And as I always say, this sport will break your heart into a million pieces. We all wanted Kyoji Horiguchi to win this fight. Even myself, who did not pick him to win this fight, wanted him to win this fight. And all I can really say was at least Manel Kape was not a dirtball about it this time.
First off, this was 3 rounds. Did not feel like it because the first round was nothing. They did nothing in the first round. They
Feel out.
absolutely, I mean, feeling out is one thing, but doing zero. Like either one of them. Okay, either way. Second round, again, not too much going on. We maybe have Horiguchi stepping in, dropping a jab, stepping out, whatever. Nothing too crazy going on really up until the third round because it felt like this came out of nowhere. Like because you were getting a performance where you're like, man, Horiguchi's got this, man. It's the third round where if he takes this one, it's like arguably you give him the first, second, third, now it's over, kind of deal. Manel's going to have to get a finish. And then so in the third round, they're still doing the feeling out kind of thing. Like nobody's really got after it yet. Horiguchi blasts in, tries to drop a combo. Manel Kape just throws a flurry. One of them lands on the exit. Horiguchi's now wobbled. And then Manel Kape hits him again. We fall to the mat. And this is where it's unfortunate because I do believe that this was a very good stoppage. This was a very good stoppage because Horiguchi's fine. He's covered up. He's blocking. He's good. He's getting shots, but they're getting covered by the glove. And then this one shot just gets through on the under of his shoulder or under his armpit. and then he falls face first into the fucking mat, and I said, end it right now. And thankfully they did, because normally we don't get it ended right when it needs to be, kind of deal. But as soon as you saw him go face first, Horiguchi, I would hate for this guy's too adorable to get his face pounded into the fucking canvas like that. But as soon as I saw it, it's like, just call it, bro. Just you already saw him get wobbled, and I hate to like. I think there was reasonable enough time for him to have, changed positions, fight back, kind of deal. But the shot that dropped him, he goes lifeless right to the mat, bro. It was over, And thankfully, the ref actually did a very good job here. I think it was Herb as well, but
Yeah.
This was just unfortunate because it felt like it's not like everything was going right for Horiguchi, because like I said, nothing was necessarily happening that was great, but nothing was going wrong for Horiguchi yet. That's
Right.
more or less what happened here.
Yeah, that's really exactly how I called it as well. I mean, feel out round, of course, like you said, really just an inactive round, but I still thought that of the inactivity, Horiguchi probably took it. If I was like, gun to head, who do you think won that round? So,
Who took
whatever.
more steps?
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah, exactly. Either way, look, you can call it either side. I think that they had said that, a couple of the people on the threads, the little threads comments that come up had it, either way. So fine, you can call it a toss up round, but Horiguchi gets that second round where he's, controlling the entire round. So good there. In the third round, I mean, Horiguchi got caught with a couple of like smaller shots early on. Manel started to open up a little bit, but he kept on his own track. I mean, he had his own attacks going. It was really only when he got caught, and I was just like, oh man, what a terrible turn of events there. But like you said, the under the arm shot really was the definitive point to stop it. So it was a good stoppage. And what I said about it is that really does go to show the power that Manel Kape has in his hands. Think about the angle and the power you have to generate to get a shot that's going to drop you face first into the mat under the armpit. Like, the angle that is at, you're the way that you're, they call it the kinetic chain of, when you're throwing the punch to actually generate the power. You're not, you don't have the planting of the feet to, to bolster you for that. Like, you have to be able to generate that almost solely out of your arm. And he was able to do that. So, and I know that a lot of people talk about Manel Kape and his very large breasts. We can talk about that in a little bit, but regardless of that, if you want to say that that's the reason, then fine. But whatever the case may be as to why he has that ability, he certainly does. So sadly, a good stoppage, and sadly, a setback for Horiguchi, which sucks. What I say about Manel Kape is that Manel Kape is a villain in this sport, but he's not a villain in this sport the same way that like a Vinicius Oliveira might be, or like there's a couple of Josh Hokett. You know what I mean? There's like different versions of villain. Manel Kape to me is like a James Bond villain in this sport. He's like a dude who, it's the self-belief, it's the confidence, and it's that wild man brain that he has. Like, he just really has a little bit of a screw loose, I would say. And like he takes that and makes it work for him in a way that is effective. And it sucks when you go up against a crowd favorite like Horiguchi. This is one of those guys that really does not have any haters, kind of thing. We all love Kyoji Horiguchi and we're all really rooting for him. So again, the sport will break your heart, but you got to give it to Manel Kape that he does have that power. And when he finds the shot, he turns people off.
Yes, he does. It is just something that we have to live with, unfortunately. Whether or not it is legal substances that are causing it, it is making it past the drug testing pool. So Manel Kape walks away with another W. He has stated that he'll wait. He believes that he's the guy next in line. There's really no debating it at this point. I would say after Pantoja, which is the rightful opportunist when it comes to this right now, Manel Kape's going to be next. I'll give it to him. So shout out him.
For sure. And the one thing that I did want to say about the enhancements on Manel Kape, of course, Manel Kape is a known user. I mean, like I go back to the fact that he did basically pop. I still have not gotten a clear definition as to why he was not actually sanctioned by USADA, but USADA caught him at one point. Like, he popped for usage, and like, for some reason it got written off. I'd have to go back and find all of the details of why that was the way that it was. But whatever the case may be, he has certainly used in the past. When he was using in Ryzen, where the first fight between these two took place, of course, this is a rematch between them. He did drop Horiguchi twice in that fight as well. So obviously, like, if you want to attribute all of that to the usage, I think that of all people, like, because, I'm always a person, like you said, if it's not getting caught, he has not been caught under the current drug testing policy. If you're not getting caught, then you're clean as far as I am able to give you that leeway. You know what I mean? If you get caught, if you TJ Dillashaw it out here, then yeah, then obviously, you're going to have that stain on you. He does not have that when it comes to this iteration where he is now in the UFC. It does feel a little weird to talk about him in these terms of saying he's a power puncher, knowing that he has used in the past.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely something that you always have to understand, but it is the sport, and he's at the top. So, bias aside of what you believe and what we have to go on as of right now, he knocked out Horiguchi in the third round, and that's just how it goes, man.
Yeah, and like you said, I do think that it is sadly undeniable that he is going to be getting that title shot at some point. You can only deny the guy so long, and whether he's a crowd favorite or not, he is knocking people out in a small man's division that gives him an instant leg up, So
Yeah.
he's been waiting. I mean, really, if you break it down, I mean, aside from Makayev, he's been waiting. He's been finishing top level fighters. It has to happen. So when it happens, I guess we'll find out. But in this moment, Manel Kape gets the job done. And sadly, I mean, I did see the statement from Kyoji Horiguchi. He said, yeah, it sucks. I got caught. I'm not done. I'm going to keep on. So Horiguchi's staying around. So, maybe there's something more for him, but it does seem like if you can't beat Manel Kape, then hard to say that he's going to be able to get that shot.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But I mean that does wrap it up. Do we want to go over the numbers really quick?
We certainly do. But before we go to the numbers, what that is the end of the story here for UFC Fight Night, Kape versus Horiguchi. Final thoughts on this card, and then we'll do the numbers.
I really like this card. I really did. It drug at some points, but I think it ending about 2 hours earlier than it should have was really a really good thing. It being at the apex, I feel like they have more time. They have more ability to fluctuate with the time that they have. So this worked out really good. It ended very quickly, and we've had finishes before. Everybody's like, oh, we had, obviously we had all finishes on the main card. It's like, guys, we've had plenty of finishes before, and the shit fucking drug because they needed to fill the time slot, So this was definitely a different vibe, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, and even beyond just the pacing, to me, I thought that this was one of the best fight nights of the year. Honestly, I mean, really, if you break it down, we had a couple of little times where it might not have been the greatest, but like of the fight nights that we have had in 2026, I think this is pretty high up there. A full card of our full main card of finishes, a fucking Scottish twister on the card. I think some pretty cool stuff happened here. So I was very happy with this card overall. I had a good time with this one.
Yeah, had a little bit of everything. The roller coaster was set. You had a dude that shouldn't have been in the UFC. You have the lady goat almost getting upset. You have back of the head strikes. There was everything you needed here, I guess.
Absolutely. A little bit of a grab bag for sure. So that being said, Chase, yes, go ahead and take us through our numbers here. How did both of us do this week?
Okay, so out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fights, that sound
Yes,
correct?
correct.
I had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 correct. Not my best week. And then Thinker had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 correct. Yes, so he has prevailed. So he has brought down the total numbers. Okay, so Chase is at 154. Thinker is at 133. So
every day getting closer to evening this thing out. That's right. 1 week, people. There has been never let it be forgotten that in this moment I actually did better with my predictions than Chase. Just we need to enshrine this moment in history right now. May never happen again, but in this moment it did. We were all here for it. Thank you for being here for it.
hell yeah. And if anybody didn't know, we're about to get into the picks for next week. If there are any differences, make sure you leave a like and comment on whoever's picks you think are the best. So keep that in mind while we go ahead and break down this next card.
Absolutely. And we will do just that. And I'm very glad that we are because this card is actually really, really good. So
I
I'm
agree.
really looking forward to hearing your thoughts about this one, Chase. Yeah, so this is UFC Fight Night. Fiziev versus Torres. Of course, Rafael Fiziev, Manuel Torres in the main event of this thing. I would say, and I know that this may be a little bit crazy to say, but of the fights on this card, this might be one of the weaker fights. I know that Manuel Torres has not gone past a first round like ever, almost, right? I
He
think he
has
has one time that
one
he's ever.
decision, yes, and every other fight is in the first round.
So obviously he's coming in with a lot of heat off of that, coming in off of knockouts and stuff. You know, we know that he is building up a name for himself off of his pedigree that he's created. Fiziev, somewhat middling at this point. You know, this is not a bad fight. I'm not trying to say that it is, but I do think that there are a lot like more interesting fights on this card than this fight. This fight, I guess, sort of has to happen based on where both of them are in their careers. It makes sense matchmaking wise to an extent. So for those reasons, I'm not terribly upset by this main event. Also, Azerbaijan, this of course is in Azerbaijan, this event. So Rafael Fiziev fighting at home.
Yeah, so this one is interesting because Rafael Fiziev has not had the best run lately. He has one win in his
Right.
last couple few, and it's against Ignacio Bahamundes. Fun fact, Ignacio Bahamundes knocked this guy out, knocked out Manuel Torres at the Sphere. So I want to believe that Fiziev will be able to have a game plan that gets him past the first round, because that's all you have to do in this case. For a guy who has never seen the second round outside of one bout, there's obviously questions. And these are questions that he doesn't even know the answers to. You have to find these out once you take him there, you know? So, and I think Fiziev, he's a big leg kicker. I think he'll be able to set it. He gets inside and he blasts combinations. So I think he's going to start the fight off a little slow. Obviously, he shouldn't. Actually, let me take that back. I think he will not start slow. That is the worst thing he can do, is let Manuel Torres have his first round to go ahead and fucking try to take his head off. Fiziev should come out hot. Start him right out the gate, come in, blast low kicks, combinations, and then when the second round, now let him think about what he's going to do. Now you're in uncharted territory. Now you can take a little break, let him see what he's going to do with 75% energy, kind of deal. I think Fiziev is going to be able to take this one in typical fashion of me not picking the main event correct. I'm obviously not positive, but I think Fiziev with the right game plan, you already have the answer. I mean, but Bahamundes is definitely a different level of striker of what he can do against Manuel Torres because they're similar in size. Fiziev has a different game plan, being the shorter fighter, but he's always the shorter fighter. This is nothing new for him. He's got 50, not 50, sorry. He's got 30 minutes with the current champ. So there's that to be said, I guess.
Yeah, no, you're making all of the exact points that I would be making myself as to why Fiziev would be winning this fight. But because we have seen Fiziev sadly regress, it would feel like. I mean, this is the same Fiziev that just lost to Mauricio Hufi, yes?
Who people think is very, very good. There are people who think he's going to be the next guy. So, I mean, if it turns out that he goes and beats Justin Gaethje or something, then it's like, that's not that bad of a loss. But what if he doesn't? You know, like, at least when you
Right.
look back at the recency, I mean, he beat Ignacio Bahamundes. Okay, so he beat the dude he probably should have. Lost to Hufi, if you want to believe that's, a different circumstance. Lost to Justin Gaethje twice. One of them was a majority decision, by the way, as well. And then the other one was Matej Gamrot, who is a decent. You come on, I mean, well, hold on now. He got fucking. Oh, it was the leg. It was the injury. That's right.
Yeah, it was the injury. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. So up until then, I mean, gosh, I mean, there's really not much you can say. Like, I think. I think Fiziev can do this, man. I believe it, but as you said, I mean, if he gets knocked out by Hufi, and from me, my personal perspective, what I've said about Hufi, whatever you want to believe, I don't necessarily think the greatest, but in this circumstance, I'm going to believe it. I'm going to believe that Hufi is just that guy, that he can knock Fiziev out.
Well, and I'll tell you what, 'cause somebody asked me about this fight on one of my other streams, and I'll tell you why I am also going with Fiziev. And this is also something that I am thoroughly prepared to bite me in the ass. But what I will say about Manuel Torres is that when we talk about these fights often, I mean, I'll get into some of the technique that I am aware of. And, I've been watching the sport for a very long time. So, I picked up a good amount of the deeper mechanics of this sport, but would never class myself as an expert in that regard. I'm just a fan. I'm just a guy watching and giving my opinions about stuff. Manuel Torres telegraphs his combination so dramatically. I go back to the Grant Dawson knockout. If you see the way that he sets up the shot, it's the setup, the straight out, and then the hard follow up shot. He does the same combination, and it works for him. It's the exact combination that knocked out Grant Dawson. So I mean, like it certainly works. But if you are aware of that as a fighter who is 13-5, a person who's been in the sport for a while, a person like you said who's gone to wars with the current champion, like if I'm picking up on this, I gotta believe that his team is picking up on it as well. I've got to believe that, because you said what I hope he does, that he comes out here hot out the gate. I always appreciate fast starters in this sport. I think it gives you the leg up. If he does that and it recognizes what I, as a novice layman guy sitting in my chair in my apartment kind of thing, watching the sport, realizes, I got to believe that there is a counter for that and that he can get out of the first round because of that knowledge. If he does not, if he does get knocked out with the same combination that has knocked out everybody else, then I definitely think that Fiziev is in his, in the sunset of his career. Because it's so obvious, it's so telegraphed from a million miles away. You can't not see it. If I am picking up on it, then the pros definitely have to be picking up on it.
Yeah, I would hope so as well. But what can I say? I was kind of looking into it to maybe have some validity to say that Manuel Torres is going to have an issue striking downwards at Fiziev. But he was able to get rid of Drew Dober. So, and that's somebody with a fucking chin on him. Fiziev is, gosh, this is an unfortunate pick, but I am going to go ahead and take Fiziev to have a clean performance and evade that big bomb in the first round. That's really, because it's actually different, when there's other people that you're like, man, like that's a lot, that's dangerous you have to fight a perfect fight against that person for 3 rounds, 5 rounds, or whatever. Manuel Torres, generally speaking, you have to fight a perfect round with him, and then everything is unknown. So it's really
Right.
it's gonna be interesting. But I'm taking Fiziev, of course.
I am also taking Fiziev, and what I would recommend, if I, obviously, don't take anything that I say as gospel over here, but if your sports book has a double up bet with Fiziev by decision or Manuel Torres by knockout, I would jump all over that. That would be the exact bet that I am going to be making: Manuel Torres by knockout or Fiziev by decision.
Nah, Manuel Torres is going to get finished in 5 rounds. If he makes it out the first, and he looks like I'm thinking that he's going to look, there's going to be a look in his eye that's like, oh, there's no fucking way I'm going 4 other rounds. Like, come on, like he made it to decision that one time he did it, but we have 2 more rounds on top of that. So
He's a Mexican brother. He's got Mexican chin.
he may have Mexican chin, but Mexican cardio.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, and I mean, lightweight. I think I'm sticking with my guns on what I think, but fair enough. I mean, if you think that either guy, double up on knockout or knockout is potential there, I guess, or do two separate parlays if you're thinking that that's a potential thing. But I'm thinking that if it's not going to be Manuel Torres in round 1, that it turns into just a long. I feel like Fiziev maybe ends up gassing out halfway through, drags it on. Both these guys get tired by the end.
I think we unfortunately might see another situation where we have a fighter who's just going to kind of tap out of this one. After it gets to a certain deep water position, it's like, bro, I got 3 more fucking rounds of this. Oh my god.
All right. Well, as Chase said, we have a lot of different possible scenarios here now. So let us know who you think is more potentially correct. But
hell yeah.
Well, we're both going Fiziev. We're locking in.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. We will see what happens here. Well, this next one, how is this even a co-main event, to be perfectly honest? This is Shara Magomedov, Shara Bullet, of course, versus Michel Pereira. I asked that question not because of Shara. At this point, Shara's done what he needs to do to be he could probably be a main event fighter at some point soon, I would think. But Michel Pereira in 2026, after what we've seen this guy do, I mean, like how we've seen him perform against higher level competition. How is this a co-main event?
It's not about that, really. It's when you look at the highlights, when you compare highlights, it's like, oh, Shara, he does these crazy spin kicks, he does this, and when you look at Michel Pereira, it's like, oh, he does these crazy they're matching that up in theory that this is going to be the most creative firework matchup on the feet.
That's a good answer.
Which it is not. It is not going to be that, because Michel Pereira is going to have his 1-round flurry. Shara Magomedov, Shara Bullet, is a very quality fighter. This is a dude who takes his record very seriously. He's not Andre Lima, who loses 11-0 and then goes to a different weight. No, Shara Magomedov fought tooth and nail for his fucking record. You know, his last fight with Andre Barriou, Marc-Andre, was fucking good. He got poked in the eye and his nose broken. You know who didn't fucking say one word about it? Shara Bullet. You know who won that fucking fight? Shara Bullet. This dude is actually good at what he does, and he doesn't do creative bullshit. He does creative setups to strikes, and I think he is actually very competent when it comes to mixed martial arts. He knows exactly what not to engage in. Every time he goes to the cage, he has his knee up and he doesn't engage any other way. He just braces, and you're going to hold me here, and we're not going anywhere else, and we're going right back to the feet as soon as you let go. Shara Bullet is a true class striker. And I think Michel Pereira is the guy who lends himself more to, I'm gonna do bullshit and see what happens. You know, like it's unfortunate. You know,
Well, what I would add to that sentiment, I think you're certainly on the right track with all of it. What I would add to the sentiment is that Michel Pereira is the guy who does creative bullshit early, and if it wins him the fight, then great, and if not, he gasses out and looks terrible. However, we also did see the version of him recently. I think it was against Zachary Reese. I believe I'm
yes,
correct about that. We saw the version of him where he doesn't do that, where he decides, okay, I'm going to conserve energy to make sure that I can make it through all 3 rounds, and then he sucks at that too. So I mean,
yes,
like, this is just one of those guys that, like, I like. Look, I had a lot of hope for Michel Pereira early on because I was like, he's a back when he was still trying to make welterweight. I was like, okay, this guy obviously is a bigger dude. He's a guy that needs to be at a higher weight. He can still be creative at a higher weight if it's more natural to him. That this could all be really awesome to see this guy up there doing creative shit. Then we saw what it ended up looking like. We saw Fluffy Hernandez dragging this guy to hell. I mean, like this.
Abus Magomedov.
Abus Magomedov, and again the Zachary Reese fight, which was I thought Zachary Reese won that fight. I mean, like that was a terrible call at the end of the day when it came to that fight. So all things considered, Michel Pereira has been a massive letdown, even with his highlights. And I like his highlight. Look, a guy who does a backflip, kick and all that kind of stuff, certainly interesting. The stuff that he has accomplished, I will not take away from him. Him being a fighter that can go toe to toe with what Shara brings to the table and what we've seen him do, I don't think that there's any competition here, really. I think this is going to be a walk in the park for Shara.
Shara again, he takes his shit serious. You know, he is very qualified when it comes to striking. Michel Pereira is good. He is a good flurry for a first round. But from what stats will tell you, he is going to lose by decision if he doesn't finish this fight. And if Abus Magomedov is beating you, brother, Shara Magomedov is like 4 times whatever that dude is. Like, I hate to break it to you. And it's a different matchup, of course. You know, Abus is able to, mix in takedowns, tire him out. But Michel Pereira is not even, when people are wrestlers, it's like, okay, when they're tired, they rely on their wrestling. When people are strikers, they rely on their striking. It's like Michel Pereira can't rely on anything because he's just going to get tired either way. Like, he's going to get tired. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand how you go up to a higher weight. I mean, look, you're carrying more weight on your frame. I get all that part of it. We've seen guys with better cardio at middleweight than him. So it's like, why have you not put the pieces together to get your conditioning better? I mean, dude, you're carrying a lot of extra weight. I mean, like, look at the picture of him on ESPN. I mean, he's big around the midsection. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has abs, but he's one of those like big, like barrel chested kind of guys. So it's like, I guarantee you that there is more conditioning that could be done to give you a better tank. You just won't do it. So this is what you get out of that. What do you want?
I think it might just be like an RDR situation where he's went to the doctor and they told him, like, brother, your lung capacity is the newborn baby type. Like, I really don't know what it is. Michel Pereira can make decisions. He has done it. He's pushed through, him making it to the 5th round with Fluffy or whatever the hell it was. I mean, it was all Fluffy not wanting to finish the fight, but he still made it that far. So the heart is there, but the lungs, I've seen it plenty of times, brother. I've seen you do a backflip and it's like praying to God you're waiting for this dude to quit kind of deal. Like, I don't know. I think Shara's just as creative and as unpredictable as his striking may be. He is very technical. He is very, very technical. And that's what you hate. If you are somebody who is unorthodox and you have a very flamboyant kind of style, technicality can ruin your fucking day. Like, yeah, listen, one fucking straight jab is all it took for Alex to fall off his fucking axis and almost to his ass. Like it really, some shots will do stuff if you are technical enough. So
No, yeah, and I think you made a good point where the thing that to me why I was a little skeptical about him early on was because it felt like a lot of flash without substance. But what we have seen is that there is substance there. So,
Exactly.
and that I think really is why I'm starting to evolve my own thinking about him. And yeah, I think it's going to take him very far in this fight. And yeah, I mean, I think that this is really not going to be too much of a task for him. I think this might even be a little bit of a setup for the local crowd. But either way, whether he finishes or has to go to decision, we'll see about that. But I think it's pretty clear to me that Shah is going to be the winner in this one.
Absolutely.
All right. We are in lockstep for 2. Let's see if we are in it for 3. Nazim Sadikov going up against Mateusz Camilo. This hurts my heart, man. This hurts my heart that this is the position that Nazim Sadikov is in because, as I have said before, I had Nazim Sadikov in a potential fight of the year last year. Nazim Sadikov was one of my favorite under-the-radar fighters for a while. Then he goes up against Fares Ziam and looks absolutely atrocious. Mateusz Camilo is... I mean, he's
He's
good.
nobody, bro. Be honest, bro.
I'd say he's an NPC of the sport. He's just one of those guys that's sort of there. I mean, he's not the worst in the world. 10-3. Obviously, he's
He has
done enough.
2 fucking bouts.
Yeah, and what were the outcomes of those bouts?
He got submitted by Gabe Green, and unanimous decision by and then a unanimous decision win against Borjas.
Right.
So
the Gabe Green submission was, of course, legendary around these parts. If you don't recall that I made sure to immortalize that with a short. Look that one up. So fair enough on that one. But I mean, he was actually pretty competitive in that fight. The Borjas fight, I mean, Borjas, was already on the way out by that point.
Competitive in a fight against Gabe fucking Green and Borashov or whatever. Like that's the level that they gave Nazim Sadikov. Like that's when I see shit like this, it's like, man, they really wanted you to be the fucking star, didn't they, brother? Now this is the height. They shot you up to fucking Fares, and then you got shot back down to a dude who we rightfully assume you're supposed to beat in front of your home country. Like, I hate to say it, because like Nazim Sadikov at this point, when you have a highlight, people know your name. You go up against people who are known. You don't go up against the fucking people we don't fucking know again. Like, this is, and Mateusz Camilo, he might be a real tough dude. He might be this, he might be that. But if he comes out here and he loses as easily as I'm assuming that they want this to go, it's like, I just feel like this is not what the promotion should be. Like, we shouldn't just give Nazim Sadikov an easy fight because he looked like fucking shit last fight. Like,
yeah, and because he's supposed to do it in front of the hometown, of course, obviously. I mean, I think that that's pretty clear here, but I think that really does beg the question: is he still that guy? Because, like I said, I thought he was one of the best under the radar guys, of recent memory, and then now, he gets kind of shot down. Again, it's not just that he lost that fight; he looked terrible in that fight. Because I mean, and again, I'm very clearly remembering this because of how much stock I had in this guy. So is he in a situation where he's not going to be bouncing back? That's the big question to me.
this is a guy that I'm gonna get hate on for not saying he's the fucking GOAT, Like, people really like this Nazim Sadikov dude. When he got the question mark kick against Ismail Bonfim, everybody was sitting here saying, I knew it. I knew this guy was gonna be the GOAT. Like, I told you guys he was coming. And then he has this fucking shitty performance against Fares Ziam, and it's like, guys, you cannot trust a person. This is a fight that you stay away from. You cannot trust a person who is viable to just opt out of doing anything in the fight. Like, he literally did nothing against Fares Ziam. You cannot put stock into a fighter who potentially could do nothing. It's one thing, like, it's the same thing with Mitch Raposo. It's like, you can sit here and think that he might be able to pull out a win, but then the day that he doesn't, and he does nothing to try and win, I mean, it was written there for you. He did nothing when he won.
I'm chalking it up to a bad night. I'm chalking it up to some outside the cage thing because we
Paint
have not.
fumes.
Right. The equivalent of paint fumes for sure, because we have not seen him like that before. Like, I mean, it's one thing if there has been any indication like that anywhere in his career up until this point. Like, I mean, we've seen his fights in the UFC. He has been pretty dominant in the ones where he has not been the greatest. Sad to say, I mean, back when Borshov was actually still somebody, worth caring about in the promotion, he went to a draw with Borshov that was a crazy fight. That was a really, really good fight. But my point is saying that, like, even when he has not been at his absolute best, he's not been that. So I'm going to at least put the stock into him to say everybody has those times where they're not at their 100%. Could have been something outside in his personal life. I can't speculate on exactly what it is, but I have not seen him like that before. So I'm going to give him the leeway and the respect to say, you get one. You get one off night. And if you come back and do exactly what I expect you to do, maybe we disregard that one fight and you get another shot at somebody higher up in the rankings later on. But if he comes back and loses this fight against the NPC, then yeah, it's really he never was.
Yeah, I agree.
All
It's
right, so
unfortunate.
what's your
Well,
pick?
but I'm going Nazim Sadikov for sure. I
Okay,
think it's going to be unfortunate that he's going to end up fucking. I mean, it's not unfortunate to me because I'm not somebody who necessarily is in love with this dude. I don't think he's the best in the world, and I don't know if he's ever going to be anything better than what we've seen. But if he does, he should, by what we've seen before and what he's able to do against somebody who's, again, 2 fights in the organization. This dude submitted Terrence McKinney, by the way. Nazim Sadikov actually was able to withstand the flurry of that guy and get him to the ground. So like the skills are clearly there. There's no reason for me not to take him in this instance. But if you let me down, I'm only gonna have more fuel to say, bro, I told you so. I told you guys. Like I told you that this dude can have a good night when everything's in his fucking favor. But when a Brazilian walks into his hometown, apparently he don't know how to fucking do anything.
That's what I'm saying. I think that you're discounting what we've seen from him before. Him versus Nicholas Mata was a fight of the year contender for me for a
Good.
reason. You know what I mean? Like and Mata had some really big moments in that fight. So it could be an all out war. Maybe Camillo comes out here really swinging. I mean, maybe. I'm just saying that we'll see. We'll see how the fight actually plays out. But my pick is certainly Nazim Sadikov on the hope that the Frez Zayem fight was a fluke.
I would say the same thing about Christian Rodriguez too. Is like you haven't turned the tides yet. Just because one bad performance cannot make or break you, of course. But if you have another bad one, brother,
but at least in Sadikov's case, he has the credentialed record of winning before. You know what I mean? Of having consistent wins.
And that's the unfortunate part too. If he didn't have credentialed wins before, it's like, okay, he still just hasn't found his footing. It's like, this is a dude who has had success against people who are on pay-per-views right now, opening on the fucking card of Conor McGregor. Like, you submitted that guy. Now here you are. Like, right. I don't know. It's unfortunate.
Well, we will see, though. I mean, him getting a win in the home country could be the new leaf turning over.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Next up, though, is Asu Almabayev versus Charles Johnson. Man, this is a crazy that this fight is where it is and with both of these guys, because, I mean, these are two, really kind of household names at this point in the flyweight division. Charles Johnson more so than Asu Almabayev, but I've been a fan of Asu Almabayev for a while. I had higher hopes for him than I think what he's been able to deliver. But Charles Johnson ends up being more of a wild card than you'd like him to be. I think Charles Johnson, even also a guy who has not necessarily lived up to what I think he may have been capable of. He does have a knockout over the current champion. Almabayev lost to the dude who just won on the last fight night, the guy who's next in line for a title shot. Came back and beat a potential contender recently. I mean, like the dynamics, the MMA math does not math with the two of these guys, is what I would say. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing about Charles Johnson that you are seemingly forgetting is that he just came off of a knockout with Alex Perez. That was 2 fights ago, and then the next fight he completely robbed Bruno Silva.
True,
split decision.
That's what I'm getting at, though. Is just that you can go through the records and say, oh, he's done this, he's not done this, he's lost to this guy. It doesn't equal up to what you see in front of you when he's in the cage.
I think the thing that reads most to me with what Asu Almabayev offers to the table. We have Charles Johnson unanimous decision loss to Muhammad Mokaev and Rafael Esteban. 2 wrestlers right here that all they do is just get you to the ground and smother you there. Asu Almabayev, that's exactly what he's going to do. And Charles Johnson not putting up, when you take into account those 2 recent performances, okay, he got knocked out, and then he got the split decision win. It's maybe starting to look like a downward trend here. He had his moment where he was the guy to knock those guys out. It might have ended right at Kavanaugh, and then Perez knocks him out. The split decision was maybe the indication that it's starting to not look good. If he gets a unanimous decision loss here, I mean, I just wouldn't be surprised. I think Asu Almabayev is not necessarily the best or the worst, but he's serviceable, is what I would say.
Yeah, he's also crafty. He's a guy who will take the risk. He'll risk it for the biscuit kind of thing if he needs to. Because I mean, the jump gilly that ended up being the thing that won was certainly a maneuver that most of the time is going to be detrimental to you, and he ended up making it, something that worked. So
The last thing that I want to note is that Charles Johnson, while this did not prove to be correct about Bruno Silva, because Bruno Silva is 5'4", along with Lonnie Kavanaugh, who is 5'4", along with Asu Amabayev and Josh Van. Now, the thing that Charles Johnson is really good at is throwing an uppercut that he can jump basically through and through these opponents' faces, and that definitely has an effect on these shorter guys who just tuck their heads low, and he can punch right fucking through you. And so Josh Van felt the wrath of this, and obviously Lonnie Kavanaugh, it wasn't the uppercut, hands down, still got caught, whatever you want to say. Bruno Silva was able to survive, but that dude's got a chin and acne that is matching up with something that I don't know what to talk about. But Asu Amabayev, he's definitely in prime position to get uppercutted through his fucking face and knocked out. Yeah.
yeah, well, and again, Johnson is just another one of those guys that is like somewhat. I mean, maybe not X factor is maybe the wrong way to say it, but like he's a wild card fighter at this point. You get a knockout over the current champion, and then you're losing to take your pick of the people that he lost to. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you just really can't tell. For that reason, it's hard to go with him. I mean, I think that Asu is like I think he's like he has a better like not fight IQ. I don't want to say he's got a better fight IQ. I want to say that he's like that he's more crafty is just the way that I would say it. Like he's more dynamic on his feet, but Charles Johnson can catch people that are dynamic on their feet. We've seen him do it. So it's a very hard decision between these two, I would say. I'm going to go with Charles Johnson and pull the upset off here.
Oh, okay. I'm
I am.
excited to see how this goes. I'm glad you went ahead and differed on this one. But I definitely could see. I mean, everybody else gets tired and they get caught. It's happened twice now. Um, I don't know. Asu Amabayev, he definitely is the type of dude who gets tired and tries to reach for legs and tries to grab you. And Charles Johnson just might have that. But I'm gonna go with Asu Amabayev. I like being different here.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I go into it thoroughly knowing that Charles, all of what I just said about Charles Johnson, that it is a risky endeavor, but we've seen him pull it off against he's one of those guys that loses when he's supposed to win and wins when he's supposed
Yeah,
to lose kind of thing. So I think that is going to inform my decision making.
hell yeah.
All right. Well, there's your first deviation between the two of us. Let's see if we got another one here. This is Ikram Alaskirov versus Bruno Fajeda. Fajeda coming off of that very devastating knockout versus RoboCop. Ikram Alaskirov, a guy that I like a lot, but somewhat inactive. I mean, just a dude who sort of pops up at random, it seems. He took the big chance against Robert Whitaker back then, and that did not work out for him. Came back, got himself a couple of solid wins, but not necessarily crazy high-level wins, I would say. Wins that are certainly, good on the record, but not necessarily raising the profile all that much. I like this fight as far as where both of them are currently because Fajeda, I remember, you kind of thought that Fajeda was getting a little bit not hot shotted, but maybe he might have been a little overinflated as far as his value goes. Ikram Alaskirov, I think, was being properly built and then had to take the big chance against Robert Whitaker because you can't say no to that kind of thing. Is kind of rebuilding himself at this point thereafter. I think it makes sense. So that being said, this is an interesting matchup to me to see how this all plays out. Ikram Alaskirov has power in his hands.
I am glad that you remember that I am not the biggest fan of Bruno Fajeda because as soon as I saw this, I'm like, this is a guy who I believe did not live up to what a lot of people saw in him. And I still think that is true. But for this matchup alone, I think Bruno Fajeda has proven to me that when the going gets tough, he fights. He's a tough dude. He is not just gonna lay down and the Moldovan kind of maneuver. He will actually stand and bang. Now, the thing that is interesting is Ikram Eliskerov is somebody that is an opponent that's going to come in here and strike with Bruno. I say we have a pretty good fight on our hands here. I would say this is going to be my fight of the night candidate. I think we're going to get more rounds than we think here. I think we're going to get Bruno Fajeda in the third round, making Ikram Eliskerov quit. I think, and not quit, but I think he's going to TKO him in a way that it's like what we saw with Asmabekov. Like, bro, like some of these guys, I'm starting to get the reputation for some of these Russian Dagestani guys. They just come in here and sometimes they don't have the heart to fucking continue on. Shamil Gaziev is another good example. He didn't necessarily not have the heart to continue on. He got his ass whooped, but it only lasted 2.5 rounds or whatever. This is another prime example where I think Bruno Fajeda is going to show more heart and will. I think it's going to be a slugfest. I don't think either of them are going to get knocked out. I think Bruno Fajeda is going to come out triumphant, and Ikram is. It's not going to be the worst loss because he's going to fight till the end, and it's going to be like he it looked like he probably should have bailed out there, But I truly believe that the cardio is not going to hold up for Ikram because I've seen it before and I'll see it again. These dudes come over here with a lot of hype and a big record, and it looks like they're going to win against somebody like Tresean Gore, and then they get fucking finished. So this one right here, Bruno Fajeda, I haven't trusted you. I've taken people to beat you, and I have been rightful to do that. But this one right here, this is your moment to prove that the comeback starts now. Just
All right.
saying.
I like the thought process, but I think you're miscategorizing Ikram Alaskirov like with some of those other people that you mentioned. I think that he has the power in his hands to make this. He might not have RoboCop power, but he's got enough. I think that I think Bruno's a better competitor than the other people that he has knocked out recently. But I think that he can. I've always liked Ikram Alaskirov. I've always kind of thought that he was a little bit better than what he might have seemed in the Robert Whitaker fight. I think that he was just called up to that one too early, and he went right back to doing what he needed to do. Now, the fight with the Iron Turtle kind of reframes that a little bit because I can certainly remember him sort of gassing in that one. That was not his best night for sure. And Fajeda might be able to overtake him if it goes a little bit later, but I am going to take Ikram Alaskirov to utilize his power early in this fight. I think that as long as he can stay on the feet, that's going to be the big decider here. We know that Bruno has this, back pocket jiu-jitsu that he's been pulling out more and more recently. Wasn't able to do that against RoboCop. I'm going to count on Ikram Alaskirov to make it so that he can't do that in this fight either. And if he's able to do that, keep it on the feet, get his strikes off the way that I know that he can, just lay on some heavy leather early in this fight. Bruno, I think, is going to start having some problems with the power, and that's what I'm hanging my hat on with this guy.
I'm taking Hulk, man. I think Bruno Fajeda, the real Hulk, not the one from last week, brother. This one here, we're going to get a Hulk smash for sure. I love it.
Not the Incredible Hulk either, huh?
Nope, not him.
Okay.
Nope.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, no, I like it. I think that, I'm not going to be surprised if what you say happens. Like I get it. Like if it ends up being that type of fight, then I could see it going that way. But I think that Ikram has, he's skilled enough to know when to use his power. And if he knows to use it early, he can make this a problem fight for Bruno.
I think he might be, we might see some level of underestimation. He may think I can take that big shot, but can you take 3 rounds with somebody who is wanting to take your head off?
Yeah.
Bruno Fajeda, not necessarily the gas tank either, and the grappling is not really going to work per se in this one. I don't think he's going to fucking submit Ikram, but I think mano a mano when it comes to these, I think same thing with Ilya. When you don't get him out in the first round, then what? Then how do you respond to it? I think Ikram, when it comes to the Iron Turtle, that's another dude that you just weren't able to get up out of there. And rightfully so, that dude is a tough dude. But when it comes to Bruno, where it's somebody that you're believing, like, I can get this dude out of here for sure. When it doesn't happen, I think we're slowly going to see deterioration. And I think right here, this is going to be fight of the night, I think, right here.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I think that if this ends up in the third round, I'll definitely be eating my words by that point. But I'm banking on Ikram Alaskirov to be able to finish this thing in round 2.
Hell yeah!
All right, good deal. Next up is Abus Magomedov versus Mikhail Olashechuk. Olashechuk, we've talked about this guy a whole bunch, man. I mean, this is a dude who was not on a great path for a little while. He's 22-9 at this point. So, the record is certainly high. He's got a lot of experience, but he went through a pretty rough patch of his career, went down there with those fighting nerds, and all of a sudden has really been looking a lot like a changed fighter, at least when it comes to his striking. Abus pretty consistent, but does have the, I mean, he's 28-7. So it's like, he does have the losses on his record, maybe not as consistent as you'd want a fighter to be at the stage of the career where he is at. I think that this is good matchmaking between these two based on where they both are. Um, this is a tough one to call for me, honestly, because I would say that this feels a little bit toss-up-ish only because we know that both of them are guys who can lose at any given night. It's like one of those things where it's like on any given night a guy can win. I think on this is any given night, either one of these guys can be on the wrong end.
See, and this is where I think this is key. Mikhail Olajaychuk, yes, you are correct, went to the Fighting Nerds and had a resurgence here. The names, not necessarily the greatest. Gerald Mearshart,
True.
Cedricus Dumas, I think is another one. But, Marc Andre, knocking him out, that's a tough dude. I'm not going to say that's fluky in any manner. The thing about Abus Magomedov, and this is where it gets interesting because I've bet on this dude. I've said that he's going to beat people before, and I've been right about it. I think Abus Magomedov is one of the people that I would hang my hat on of being most correct about where their career has lied. But the thing about Abus is that they hate him. They hate him because they match him up against everybody they want to smoke him. Sean Strickland, Caio Bahayo, he goes unanimous decision with. He loses. That's fine. Bruno Fajeda submits him. Okay. Michel Fajeda fucking beats him unanimous decision. And then Joe Pyfer doesn't get knocked out by any of these people, mind you. So the idea that he can take a big shot from Olajaychuk is possible. Joe Pyfer couldn't even do it. That's the hardest hitter in the UFC. If Joe Pyfer couldn't do it, he made it to round 2 with him. He made it to round 3 with all these other powerful punchers. Abus Magomedov, I have no fear that he will get this fight out of the first round. Mikhail is a guy that in the first round is very deadly. Don't get me wrong. There was a stat where out of all the southpaw opponents that he's fought in the first round, he finished all of them. Something like that. I don't remember what it was, but that is his game. Now, with his newfound grappling from the Fighting Nerds, will he be able to thwart Abus Magomedov's submission skills once it gets out of the first round? That is going to be the question. But the point that I'm here to say is that Abus Magomedov, he has definitely shocked the world before. He has made the world very happy when Sean Strickland TKO'd him or whatever. But there have been times where people thought Bruno Fajeda was going to come in here and walk through somebody like this, and he was supposed to. And he gets submitted. And then that guy learns from Abus that, hey, maybe I can't just do everything. I'm going to go submit people. Now, whatever you want to say, Abus is a key learning lesson for a lot of fighters. And I think this is going to be a dude's on a 3-fight win streak. We know he's not the glitz and the glamour. Mikhail is fun. He goes for it. But Abus is probably going to go ahead and work a finish into this late second or third round is what I'm going for.
Yeah, what you said that stands out the most to me is the strength of the record for Olajaychuk since he's been out of the nerd camp. Like the wins that he has, I'm glad that he got those wins because I like Mikhail Olajaychuk. I do think he's an exciting fighter. I think he's he's a household. A regular at this point. You see him on cards very often. I enjoy his fights. He's definitely not a person that I'm like dreading watching fight. I think he makes these fights interesting that he is in, and I do recognize that I think that he has made noticeable improvements. But I think that even with that, you still have the core fighter underneath it all, and when you have those improvements over guys who are just sort of run of the mill competition, that gusto ends up having a limit, it has an expiration date. And I think Abus is the exact right type of fighter to show you exactly where that expiration date is.
Do you not worry about his inactivity and his age?
Oh, of course I do. But for the same reasons that I would worry about them at any time, even when he was not at the age that he is now, there's just still factors that have always been the case. I mean, you see a boost pop up every once in a while and you remember that he's on the roster,
True. Yeah,
so,
you're right. But
yeah.
I like this pick here. I think Abus is a very solid lock for this fight.
He's just he has very solid fundamentals that make him a very difficult baseline fighter. Like he does, like you said, no glitz, no glamour, not a guy who's going to go out there and be flashy in any respect, but he'll octopus you. He'll certainly, freaking get a hold of you and absorb you to the point. And we saw Mikhail Olajaychuk get absorbed by Shara Bullet. if you
Yeah.
recall. Shar was holding him on the cage. So I mean, like, holding him in the on the ground and stuff. So it's like I just don't see I don't see Mikhail Lashechek having the tool bag to do what he wants to do against Magomedov, unless he catches him with a shot that is a knockout shot. If he does have enough power in his hands to possibly get the knockout. So again, another one of these ones that if you want to go a boost by decision and Mikhail by knockout, be your guest, or be my guest, I guess. I think that there is potential for that, but I think as far as the actual outcome goes, I'm gonna also go with a boost.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, we get into the prelims here, and this is where it gets interesting. So Eric Nolan is fighting, that name, but he is going up against Farman Hassanov, who is from
Well,
Azerbaijan and does not have a picture.
I think it's funny because you're like, oh, Eric Nolan, you know that name, do you? That's not Tom Nolan. That's just some random guy who, on 4 days' notice, got submitted by Bysinger Sursakayev.
That's why you
So
know him.
yeah. So I don't know if this is necessarily the guy that I would like to know as much. This is a featured prelim bout for a guy who has 5 professional wins and a guy who is not very good, 8-4. So
Right.
what do you want to say here? We don't know anything about Farman Hassanov. He's got 4 TKOs and that's it. So do you want to take stock into the newcomer that he's going to get it done in his home turf, or do you think Eric Nolan is going to be able to shock the world? This fight sucks because how do you fucking actually pick somebody to win this? Like, as a
Well,
matchmaker, when you set this up, how do you like, oh yeah, he's got it. He's got it. It's like you don't know anything about them.
no, well, what I say is that you do, if you are one of these people, and I'm not, I mean, obviously I do watch a lot of regional when it comes to the channel, but I don't follow it, as closely as somebody who is like really digging down deep. Like Grayson was in the chat earlier. That's a guy who's really keyed into the regional scene. But what I will say is if you are paying that close attention, then you will know that Eric Nolan is coming off of 4 wins coming out of Cage Fury FC. I mean, he's a CFFC guy. A lot of wins coming out of there. And this dude, Hassanov, is coming out of LFA and had 3 wins there, 1 unanimous decision, 2 KO TKOs. So take that. I mean, this is basically this is a contender series fight is what this is.
So this is what I'm going to base everything in this fight off of. So if you remember on the contender series, a guy named Ty Miller,
Yes.
he has a split decision win against Eric Nolan. So in some way, some capacity, the second pro bout of Mr. Eric Nolan's career, he was on par with what Ty Miller was. That was both of their second bouts in their career. So at the time, maybe they've evolved similarly. Maybe at a time they were comparable. Is what I'm reading there. So I'm going to go ahead and take Eric Nolan on this one over the Azerbaijani.
All right. Well, and then I am going to take Farman Hassanov. I am taking the Azerbaijani here. I'm going off of the strength of the wins in LFA. Eric Nolan, subbed by Susurkayev. So, I mean, did not get knocked out. He has a lot of knockouts on his own record. So, I mean, I would suspect that these two are going to be standing and banging. May the best man win. Kind of a coin flip. As I said, I think this is basically a glorified contender series fight. You know how the contender series is. I mean, it really is any given Sunday kind of situation on the contender series. So that being said, hometown advantage. I'm going to go with the hometown guy.
Hell yeah.
All right. Moving on down the line, this is a pretty easy one over here. This is Abdul Rahman Yakyayev versus Julius Walker. I think you have a specific nickname for Yakyayev, so take it away, Chase.
Yes, Mr. Beast obviously is going to come in with a new challenge this week. 100 grand if you make 1 round with him is what we're going for. But the funny thing is Abdul Rahman Yakyayev, the craziest name for a dude who looks like this, by the way. I've still not gotten over that. Abdul, are we serious?
He's Turkish.
Fair enough. But either way, the funny thing is that he is at some point going to see a second round. That is inevitable. He is not always going to finish his people in the first round. He is going to see it at some point. That unfortunately is not going to be this fight because Julius Walker's chin, the way that his style, it's just not a good recipe for what Rahman offers here. If Dustin Jacoby, the shot that Dustin Jacoby hit, Julius Walker, he was getting pieced up a little bit. This is before the whole onslaught of a finish, by the way. This was a whole wonky thing that happened with Jacoby. The ref stepped in and then stepped away. Julius Walker put his hand up, and then a punch literally went right past his fucking arm. Like the defense did not connect. Like, oh, I gotta like turn. The defense mechanics are just not there, and his chin obviously is just not gonna hold up. I think Yakiaev, it is not going to surprise me the day that he leaves the first round. I think I'll be waiting for the day to bet on that, of course. But this one right here, there's just no possible way that I think that Julius Walker can make it out of the first round. The flurry that'll happen will send him into the stratosphere, and if it doesn't, he's going to get submitted. I mean, it's just that easy for Yakiaev. And the day that it's not, we're slowly seeing just how, when it came to Brenton Ribeiro, he didn't just walk through him immediately, but he still did at the end of the day, and I think Julius Walker doesn't offer. I mean, he has the skill set that could offer more than somebody like Brenton Ribeiro or whatever that dude's name is, but he's not going to have the ability to enact that here. He's way too sluggish, way too slow for a light heavyweight. Yakiaev moves in light speed compared to what Navajo Sterling was as a light heavyweight. Yakiaev will literally throw a 5-punch combination, drop you, choke you out, and it's like 13 seconds have gone by. Like it's nutty. This dude is like fucking Piccolo or some shit. Like fuck.
Yeah, no, I mean, he is the face of the next wave of light heavyweight, and that's why I'm
Yes.
glad that this is really why I'm glad that these kinds of fights are happening more quickly than they might otherwise have. Like light heavyweight, as I said earlier in this stream, it is due for an overhaul. People like him, people like Ivo Berenjevsky, these are the guys that are going to be the next up in this division, and these are the exact fights that are going to make it so that that is the case. Yakiaev brings an intensity to the fight from the very start of the fight that is going to be unlike anything that Julius Walker has experienced in the UFC, even with the fights that he's done okay in. I mean, Alonzo Menefield coming out strong in the first round, not, I mean, strong-ish, but not like this. Fucking even Dustin Jacoby, not like this. I mean, this guy is a different breed. He is the next wave. Julius Walker, even if he is a newer guy, is still kind of a build and a characteristic from sadly a little bit of a bygone era with the way that he fights, way that he approaches fighting. Yakiaev, not the circumstances are night and day different. I appreciate fast starters in the sport, as I have said. This is a guy who exemplifies that. I think he is going to come in. He is going to do exactly what he does best: swarm and defeat. So, like you said, whether it's knockout or a sub, take your pick, but it's going to be a finish, and it's going to be early in this fight. So, yeah, Yakiaev, lock of the card.
Yeah, I really appreciate him. He's 25 years old. There's still so much more to experience for his career, and this is a guy that the Hunter nickname does kind of fit. I will give him that. Yeah, dude's hard.
Sure, and these are the exact type of fights that are going to make it so that the next wave is built. If he loses this fight, which I don't think is going to happen, but if he does, okay, then now we have to consider a different set of circumstances, and then the organization has to scramble to figure out what they're doing. But they don't want that. They want him in they want him in the rankings. They want him to be on the next wave. So I think this makes perfect sense why this is happening. Makes perfect sense where this is happening. This is a layup.
No, absolutely. Yep. So I'm taking my boy Rahman Yakiaev.
10,000%, as am I. All right, next. This is a more interesting fight to me. This is Nursultan Ruziboyev versus Andre Pulaev. Now, of course, Andre Pulaev is a person that I had zero faith in for a very long time. However, this is still the man who went to decision with Ateba Gautier. That was, pretty much his claim to fame. Right? Am I wrong?
No, yes. You
okay.
Are right.
Yes. Sorry. Okay, then yeah. So that Pulaev, that obviously a guy who has maybe found enough footing in this sport to be able to accomplish that at least. Ruziboyev, dude who I think is pretty good, but has been a little spotty, if I'm not mistaken. Is he coming off of a loss?
He beat Dustin Stoltzfus. Most recently has a knockout against Eric McConaughey, and then before that, he got a unanimous decision loss against Buckley.
There you go. Okay, so yeah, I knew that they had already tried to raise him up at one point, and he flew a little too close to the sun. Then, will he have problems with Pulaev now that we know that Pulaev can make it to the final horn? I think that's the question that I have. Will he win this fight? I mean, I'm definitely leaning more in that direction based on who these two people are and how they both fight.
Well, then that's my thing is making it to the horn is exactly where I'm going with it because I want to. Listen, I'm just going to read you off some names here. Anvar Cherskazov, okay, unanimous decision loss to Ruzabov. That's fine, but he made it to the decision. You know, that Ruzabov is a dude who's got 20 submissions to his name. These are guys that I'm telling you that made the bell with him
Oh yeah,
before.
well, and
And
also keep in mind too, while you're, I'll go back to this in a second, but just keep in mind that not Nursultan Ruzaboyev is 32 years old. He is 36-9-2. Okay, this guy
yes,
has one of those records. We talk about this occasionally. People from Uzbekistan, this region of the world, they fight very often over there, and they, the guys who actually rise into the cream of the crop, so to speak, they fight a lot. So it's
mm.
like, if you want to take the record as being padded, there's probably a little bit of that. With 36 wins on the record, I think it's almost impossible to say that there's no padding whatsoever.
And then so we got another one. We got the Durzarkar Duriev. He lost unanimous decision to him as well. We have a unanimous decision loss to a Kamirian Abazov. Okay, there's another one. We have Oleg Dedanov that a unanimous decision loss to an Altenbek Arabekiev. Or I'm sorry, that's a no contest, but still, either way, we have Muriad Razmanov. How many of these guys end in Ayev or Edov that dude is going to lose the decision to? I mean, if you can't tell me that Andre Pulayev's name doesn't fit right in with all of those, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure that. I mean, okay, just going off of that metric, you do have a
no,
point, but
no, but
like,
I'm not. No, the point isn't about the ethnicity or the region. The point is people on the regional circuit have been beating this dude for 20 fucking
but
years.
that goes to my point though, is that they fight that often. So yeah, I mean, if you're fighting 40 times before you make it to the highest level of the sport, you're going to have a mixed bag, I would say. I mean, how often do you see a guy coming in with 50-0?
I mean, I agree with you, but look, just for instance, on December 21st, 2018, he had a unanimous decision loss. July 6th, 2019, that's a decent amount of time off. He has a unanimous decision loss again. You know, this dude isn't unbeatable. You know, Ruzaboev is somebody that in the hive, he kind of has a stigma that, man, we really love, Nursultan Ruzaboev. He's a finisher. He's got 20 submissions, 13 TKOs. But guys, it just doesn't pan out. He has over 40 bouts. He's lost 9 different times. Only one of those times has been in the UFC, mind you. So 8 other people on this planet have claimed a W over this dude, and 2 of them I've already checked have one pro bout ever, and it's against him.
Fair. All
So
right. I mean, I'll give you all of that. However, he is fighting Andre Pulayev in this fight. And Andre Pulayev, if you recall, in the Ateba Gautier fight, really only survived in that fight mainly by keeping himself out of the way of big shots.
and listen, he survived. That's the
Right.
thing. He survived against him. He survived against Christian Leroy Duncan. We took it as passiveness, as him running, but his game really is play the outside, set up feints, and counter strike. I don't think that he was going to win against the Taba and or Christian Leroy Duncan with this style. But Nursultan Ruzaboev, who has been beaten by 8 people on the regional circuit, can be beaten by a dude on that is coming from the same regional circuit that he literally is losing to. It's the same type of people. It's the same guys. Andre Pulayev is not necessarily anything that's different from Razmanov,
Well, fair. I mean,
Dukoev,
yeah, I understand the point, but he also has a lot of wins over those same people too, though. So I mean, like, what,
He,
like, so why? But what I'm saying, all of your point about the record stands. What about Andre Pulayev means that he is going to be the winner as opposed to Nursultan just being the loser?
Ruzaboev has a lot of wins that are finishes. What about a guy that can't be finished by Oteba and or Christian Leroy Duncan? He's going to go to decision. What has Ruzaboev lost by plenty of times? Decision to guys on the regional circuit, to the same region that Pulayev comes from. I'm not saying Pulayev is going to come out here and knock him out. He's going to put on the star-studded performance. No, he's going to do exactly what he did the other times where he stays on the outside, counter strikes, and Ruzaboev is not going to finish him, and he's going to lose by decision, which he has plenty of times. A plethora in 40 bouts. Almost every time he went to decision, he just did not win. Like he has 13 TKOs, 20 submissions. So 33 of the 36 that he has won have been by finish. I think Pulayev, a lot of hate can be guided towards him for how he fought against Christian Leroy Duncan, how he did, he showed a lot of heart against Ateba Gautier. He got up like 3, 4 fucking times after getting knocked down. Ateba just didn't fucking go for it. Pulayev, I think a new respect will be given to him after he skates by a decision with Nursultan Ruzaboev.
All right, I'm with it. I mean, the one thing I would say is that in the Ateba fight, you're right. He didn't go for it in the sense that he did knock him down, but didn't go down with him. I think that
Yes.
Nursultan Ruzaboev will go down to the ground with him, and if you can't knock him out, you can certainly still try to get that neck. I mean, I don't know if Pulayev has lost by submission, but I would certainly believe that he is
He has not.
subbable. He's never lost by submission. Ooh, that does put a wrench in my argument now, doesn't it?
He's got 2 subs himself.
Wow, you're making a pretty strong case over here, Chase. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. You're being very persuasive, but I've been persuaded by you before in the wrong direction before, so I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm going with Nursultan Ruzaboyev. I think that he's going to be able to give this man his first submission loss. I think that this guy, Pulayev, he smacks of fraudulence to me. I'm just saying, like I've never seen anything out of him aside from the ability to run effectively. And this is coming from me saying that.
Run effectively. Listen, we've seen it work time and time again. This is going to be one where the prediction tracker it's going to be on my ass again, because everybody is going to pick Nursultan Ruzaboev. This is going to be one of the bigger favorites of the card too. I can already promise you that.
And yeah, well, you'll be galaxy brain here, Chase. So I like this big brain play of yours. I appreciate you reaching for the stars.
It's going to be a good one, man. This will be a good fight. I think it'll be not as good as some other ones, but I think the upset is inevitable.
Yeah, or it could just be Nursultan holding on to him for a whole lot,
Yeah,
neutralizing the running ability.
Maybe.
Yeah, but we'll see. All right, well, we are split on it. So again, you out there listening, you decide who you think had the better thought process here. Even the Chase made a pretty strong case, I would say. All right, next up, Khan Offley, our homie from The Ultimate Fighter, is back again. They just keep Khan Offley around. It's kind of crazy to me that that's the case. But Khan Offley is
didn't
back.
even win, by the way. Didn't even win.
Didn't win the show. Questionable inside the organization, but god damn it, they keep booking this guy. Khan Offley is back, but he's fighting Javier Reyes, of course. This is another dude from the Contender Series, not from Tough, but the Contender Series. And Javier Reyes, he's shown us some stuff in the past here now already.
This is the Colombian Mictebek. Yeah,
Yes.
This dude's got it. Yeah, no. I think the last fight, I remember, I was telling you, like, he looked like he was having too good of a time. He got kicked in the head or something, and then he kind of like, he locked in. And that was his. I don't think he'll fuck around this time. I think he was having a good time. I got the old Brazilian guy. They gave me a fun little matchup. Sure. He realized, okay, I probably shouldn't have took it as whatever. I think this fight, he will take it a little more serious. He's got a dude who's more closer in age. This is not legitimate competition in the sense like, oh, he's fighting for my position, but this is a dude that you need to get rid of. And if you don't, it shows where you lie in the division. Winning not necessarily means much, but losing means a lot more in this position. So Javier Reyes, again, coming out the contender series, is one of these guys that has just so much experience, and they are ready to take over the UFC. I think Khan Offley, he's been beaten, brother. Like, I mean, you've been knocked out, and then you've been beaten by, like, what was it, Francis fucking Marshall or Clayton Carpenter or some shit like that? No.
Something along those lines.
No, oh my goodness. Never mind, brother.
Oh, by Yija?
Yeah, you're losing to Yija and getting submitted by Ricardo Ramos. Oh, brother. Khan Offley, how many times have you fought since The Ultimate Fighter, brother? Yeah, you're losing. I'm taking Javier Reyes because it's just his time. We've seen Khan Offley not prove that he's like the formidable guy in this position. So I'm taking Javier Reyes, man. This is going to be easy.
Yeah, he is not okay. He's not the dude that has that modified anaconda. So I thought it might have been him, but no, that is not him. But no, I mean we have seen him come out here doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He really does live up to the exact the way that you look at those guys, the Hispanic fighters that have good, a lot of experience on the Contender Series, coming out here, getting the job done. That is exactly, he's like the prototype of that. Like you said, I mean, Khan Offley, the fact that he is even in this organization right now based on losing the Ultimate Fighter and not doing that great as an actual competitor in the promotion speaks as much volume as you need. I mean, Reyes is a dude who is on the upswing. Offley is a dude who is kind of around. And for that reason, I too am going to be taking Javier Reyes.
Thankfully, yeah, this dude's good. You're not gonna be upset with this performance. I'm telling you, this dude is fun. He's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you, Hydra. Um, Daniil Danchenko is another guy that was on The Ultimate Fighter. He was The Ultimate Fighter, by the way. Uh,
Yes.
he's going up against a man named Theodore Berggren. Theodore Berggren. This is a short notice replacement for our dude Andreas Gustafsson, who is out indefinitely. Uh, I mean, why this guy? They found another guy from Sweden. I don't know if that
That's
was
what
by
I was
design.
about to say. I was like, is Gustafson not Swedish as well? Like,
He
what did they just
certainly is.
find his buddy? Like, what? This is Robert Valentine's fucking neighbor or something. Like,
What happened is that when Gustafson had to pull out, it was like the camera pulled back and he saw the guy in the background. He was like, I'll do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I'll take him." So,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean, look, Daniil Danchenko. Yeah, not knowing much about Theodore Berggren, Daniil Danchenko is the Ultimate Fighter, and he comes to scrap. I mean, this kid, he was my dark horse kind of winner of the Ultimate Fighter, like even earlier in the season. I was like, I really hope that this guy wins because I like his fighting style. I will certainly admit, he's not always the cleanest fighter. He is a
Mm.
dude who will get a little bit dirty, but to Chase's point in the
That's a
past,
fighting style.
that is a determination to win at all costs, and if the refs aren't calling it, if we talk about it every fucking week, the refs aren't calling it, then if a tree falls in the forest kind of situation. That being said, so let's see, what do you think while I look up a little bit about Theodore Berggren over here?
You're gonna look at his record and say, "Oof, this guy should not be in the UFC." But what the thing is it's a short notice fill-in, and oftentimes I feel like when they make sure to find an opponent for somebody, it's never good.
Right.
It's never good. Because in a sense of somebody who is a deadly foe in the case, it's like, all right, we're gonna find somebody who's gonna take the knockout punch, or somebody who's gonna take the sub and tap quick. This is not that. Daniil Danchenko is somebody who actually will disfigure your face with elbows. Like this is not. This is a punishment for whoever takes this on short notice. This isn't like a quick paycheck. Like this dude isn't going to come in here and just start you out. Like he's not just going to get you down and choke you out. This is a grueling matchup. So for them to take Theodore and say at 8-3, do you want to have the biggest opportunity in your life right now against the guy that it's gonna be, this dude is the type to, and I know I've been kind of saying it a little too much now, like the make him quit kind of deal, but like, bro, Daniil Danchenko's style would make the average man quit if you don't do it early enough. Like it's a hard fight to go with, and I just don't see this Theodore guy. As much as I could imagine he's the killer of the regionals, he's lost 3 times. Daniil Danchenko is fucking good for his age. So
Well, what I'll add, at least just to, I don't think this will make much of a difference, but I will add it just to say that Theodore Berggren, he is 3-2 in his last 5, and he has won all 3 of those fights by knockout, and he has not been knocked out in those 2 that he lost. He was submitted in one, and he was a unanimous decision loss in the other. So, Danchenko might have a little bit more on his hands as far as like, having to drag him into deep waters, but if there's anybody who will drag a newcomer into deep waters, it is Daniil Danchenko. He's been doing that for as long as we have known that name. If you really think about it, he did it
yeah,
on The Ultimate Fighter, and he's been doing it in the organization too. This is a dude who, when you talk about fast starters, this guy exemplifies that as well. He's a fighter. He's 24 years old. This kid, he's a young guy. He is only going to continue to grow into more of a beast over time, I would suspect. I understand the not liking the dirtiness. I certainly don't like it myself. I hope that he is able to steer away from that. But aside from that, he is a dude who comes to fucking scrap. So I mean, like, this is, like you said, it's never good for short notice replacements, and it's not good for a dude who has the 3 losses already. This punishment does seem like it might be applicable here.
all right. So I'm gonna have to break it down to you, and I hate to
Uh-oh.
tell you this. He has 5 KOs.
Yes.
Theodore. All of the opponents, I'm gonna read off their records. 0-1, and that's the most recent one. The second most recent one, 0-1. Third most recent one, 0-1. The fourth most recent one, 0-2. And
Oh.
his first official knockout that he got in the first round against a fellow Swedish fighter, Tobias Wahlberg, was also 0-1. So he has knocked out 5 people who were on their first professional bouts. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, what you be the judge, chat. I mean, we said that Mr. Beast might have been the biggest lock of the card. I think that you found your next biggest right here.
Yeah, this one is unfortunate because Theodore, again, people are going to see that 5 KO and they're going to be like, man, he's formidable enough. But when they watch him and he ends up looking like Leon Shahbazyan, it's like, what can you say? You
You,
know, I don't.
you remember the name Treston Vines, dude who fought
Yes.
Ateba? Yeah,
Yep.
that's what it
Yeah.
kind of feels like here. So, yeah, Daniil by massacre, I guess, is basically the prediction here. Yeah.
There was a worse one where the kid stepped up on short notice just to get fucking finished. I forget what it was. It wasn't Tristan Vines, but it was another fight that made me so mad because it happened on like 2 days' notice. And it's like, yo, give him a different fight, get him in a different card. You don't need to make sure that the dude has to fight somebody when you find somebody who's lost 7 times already. You know, like I felt bad for that kid at that
Yeah.
moment. I forget who it was, but like when you see something like this, for a guy like Daniel, he's younger, so it's a little different of a situation. It's like, okay, a 26-year-old coming up on short notice to fight the 24-year-old guy. It's like a little humbling is possible. You know, the dad strength might kick in, but for what I've seen Daniil fight like, bro, this is not somebody you just find the average guy to be like, are you ready to step up on short notice? No, you need a camp for something like this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just fucked up.
Yeah, it reminds me of the dude from in Canada, the guy in Winnipeg we were talking about, the guy that left the sport and came back, and great story and all of that, and we really wish the best for him and all, glad that he's healthy and all of those things, but to come back and that's going up against John Giannis. I mean, this is not John Giannis is not Daniil Dontenko.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, there you have it, people. You be the judge, but I think it's pretty clear over here. All right, moving on down the line. Bekzat Al-Makan. Oh, God, they brought this guy back. Bekzat Al-Makan is going up against Jean Masumoto. I really have never thought very highly of Bekzat Al-Makan. Jean Masumoto is a guy who I did think pretty highly of, but has let me down. So I do understand a little bit why this match is being made. They are pretty comparable in records, 12-3 and 17-2. I know the 17-2 might seem better, but John Masumoto, not that much more experienced, I would say. They're 26 and 28 years old. Even on paper-ish would be my thought on this. I think it's a little bit of a stylistic clash. What are you thinking here, Chase?
This one is unfortunate because Bekset let me down big time. You know, I had been a fan of Brad Katona, so I took Brad Katona to take on Bekset and get it done. He gets knocked out in the first round. Never been finished, by the way. You know, that was the craziest thing. So Bekset clearly showed that he has the power. You know, he has the will to stay in a fight that he's gonna lose against Umar for 3 rounds. You know, like this dude showed me things that were good. And then he goes against Alessandre Taporia, and it looks like he's never fucking fought in his goddamn life, apparently. You know, there was so many things that he was not doing in that fight. He was way too passive. He was getting caught with so many shots. And this was at a time where people were blowing it out of proportion. You know, this is the better Taporia, brother. This is the good one. Maybe it still maybe ring true after what we saw with Ilya. But as of right now, do I want to put stock into Bekset having an off performance against somebody who might be better than what I believe them to be? Or do I want to just throw him to the side because he's never going to be anything? He already fluked once. I can't trust him anymore. John Matsumoto, on the other hand, I don't feel like he's lost my trust as a fighter. He is lost, but in defeat, I feel like I have not had a tainted image of John Matsumoto yet. So I want to go with John Matsumoto, but on the other hand, Bekzat Almakan does have crisp striking. If he has confidence and he is not pushed up against the cage by somebody who's apparently as good as Ilya, maybe he's able to take charge and has a lot of confidence and is able to make something happen here. Goddamn, I'm really hopeful that John Matsumoto uses what I'm looking at on page here, statistical takedown things. I hope they fucking matter. I hope he does something that takes Almakan down. Because if not, and you stand with him, I think that that's the inevitable loss right there. Don't have an ego, brother. Just take him down like Umar did. Just get the fucking win.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think that the thing is that I was thinking it was going to be more of a stylistic matchup, but thinking a little deeper about it and looking at Almakan's record, I mean, he's more of a stand-up guy. I mean, he's not
Mm-hmm.
really like going to be trying to go too deep into the takedown territory. He kind of defies the Kazakhstani archetype a little bit there. That being said, I mean, John Matsumoto, I think you really nailed it. You were really cooking with when you're talking about like the trust as a fighter, because that's exactly where it comes to for me. John Matsumoto was a guy that I think that they were trying to slightly hotshot a little bit. You know, they
Yeah.
bumped him up against some pretty heavy competition at first. He might not have been UFC level ready for that type of caliber of fighter just yet, but I still do believe that there are good things in there for him. Bexod is a dude who I've just never really been sold on, even with the wins. I mean, like, you know, this is not a guy that sticks out in my mind is like, because like I said, you know, another guy from Kazakhstan. When I think about a Sual Mabayev with his wins, I was like, that's a guy I'm putting in my mind here. I'm filing him in there as somebody that I'm going to be, you know, looking forward to bigger things for. Bexod, not the same case. Masamoto, on the other hand, a dude who I still think the best is yet to come. So that being said, I think is really where my thought process lies, especially if this is going to be a stand-up fight, because John Matsumoto is fast. He is a good mover on his feet. He's got good footwork, and I think he's going to make it a pretty competitive striking match. He's also got a decent cardio, you know, decent gas tank. He'll gas towards the very end of the fight, but it'll take a while before he gets to that point. And I don't think that Bexot's going to put that type of fight on him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just don't know how this one's going to go when it comes to the striking. Who's going to have confidence? Who's going to be walking forward? But I'm gonna go with John Matsumoto. I'm gonna prevail that the thought that you haven't tainted your image yet is what's key here.
I also am doing just that, and I really hope that John Matsumoto comes out and has like a really like stellar performance in this fight. I want this to be one of those fights that like retracks him, you know, puts him back on track to who I think that he should be, because you know he's a guy who, as a Brazilian, you know, he's got the core Brazilian skills that you would expect him to have on the ground to an extent. He's not like the greatest I would say on the ground, but he's passable, serviceable enough on the ground. But he's got really nice hands, and he's a pretty skilled striker, which I think that makeup could make him a better, you know, that could make it a better future for him. So I think that this should be the one to get him right back on that course.
Absolutely, I love it.
All right. And then to start this card off, two blank images here. We have Tahir Abdullayev versus Jefferson Nascimento. Abdullayev is from Azerbaijan and Nascimento is from Brazil. They both, Tahir is 19-3 and Jefferson is 13-0, undefeated.
I looked at the last 5+ for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're just fighting people who are on their first professional bouts, bro.
Just
It's
another
all that it
contender
is.
series.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and now that I'm actually looking into it, bro, I'm actually getting mad. Like, bro, how the fuck are you getting this to this level after the last 7 people you fought? It was the first fucking bout they ever had, man.
Did you not hear that one of the guys is from Azerbaijan?
Uh, Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. You know, it's crazy enough. Crazy enough. The dude from Azerbaijan won a belt, beating a dude who was on his first professional bout, never fought again from Abdul Manap's school. You know,
Oh,
funny enough, crazier things have happened. He immediately lost his belt to a guy on his first professional bout. So that's the Azerbaijani dude. His 3 losses, 19 wins, sure, good. I at least counted 7 of them on first professional bouts. And these are recent wins, of course. The dude lost his belt to a guy on his fucking debut. You know, like, who do you take here, brother? They're
yeah.
both
I mean,
can crushers, man.
who give belt, brother? You know what I mean? It's like, what promotion even was it? It's like sometimes belt. You know, what I will tell you, at least from my experience in the regional scene, to the very minor extent that I have it, is that belts are, you know, they're about as malleable as black belts are. You know, actual championship belts at times.
So what I will say to this is, at first I'm like, okay, obviously everybody's going to be high on the undefeated fighter. He's never lost. But then you look at the other guy, he's got experience, 19-3. But as I peruse through it, they both have similar levels of experience. I think the Azerbaijani dude fought a Polish dude who's got maybe like 27 pro bouts. So it's like the biggest leap in experience that we've seen. I'm going to go ahead and say that the regional circuit in Brazil has tougher competition and more skills than what Azerbaijani is going through. If the Polish dude is the best competition you got, that was 7 years ago you fought him. And then you go back to fighting dudes who were on their professional debut. 13-0, it's risky because we have no idea who this dude is, but Brazil normally they breed competitors. Azerbaijan is lacking right now. So
Yeah, definitely that. And also, I think that the prevailing thought to a lot of people would be, oh, starting off the card with an Azerbaijani guy in Azerbaijan, this is supposed to be a setup. We've seen that being thwarted time and time again recently. I don't go
yeah.
off of that anymore. How many times in Australia have we seen the Australians lose in the opening fights, and just having a lot of regional guys that don't stack up? I think that the thought process that you're putting forward, Chase, is exactly correct.
Well, if you remember the guy that debuted on the China card, and they were like, yeah, most of his fights aren't really regulated stuff. It's just him kind of, and it's like, brother, what are we talking about here? You
Right.
just brought a dude in who's never actually like competed really kind of deal. Like,
Yeah, these are, we talked about that, I think, on that review when we were saying it's like, what's the decision making process? You're literally bringing in a guy whose majority of his fights were smokers. Not that this is that case, but like, just know that there are sometimes oddball matchups in even at the UFC level, and this is certainly what it would seem to be potentially. I mean, because neither of these guys are coming off Contender Series, right?
no, no, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
So just a random fucking oddball fight to start this thing off. You may never see either of these guys again. Just
And
one and
yeah,
done.
and if you remember when I was looking into that the Vietnam Gods of War League or whatever, and all the requirements were send us a video of you doing stuff. It's like, brother, what are we talking about here? Like, yeah,
Exactly. And when Chase makes his pro debut, that's where it'll be.
it'll literally be because I've sent a picture of me kicking a bag. But no, like if you go back to the old ways of tough, there was a character on there. I forget his name. I actually think he has passed away at this point. There was a character who had lied about his professional record. This was
Sure.
on the season with Nate Diaz, and by the end of the series, like they told him, they're like, "Yeah, we know you're not a fight. Like we know, like you're obvious. You can't lie about this." And it's like you let him fucking do it. Like what are we talking about? So what do we actually know? What are they gonna let fly? I figured we would be past things like that, but here we are. We're just giving people opportunities on the biggest stage of all time when it comes to mixed martial arts.
That is what makes this sport great, people, is that for a $7.7 billion sports corporation, it's still the Wild West to an extent.
Yep. Yes, it is.
So what's your pick?
This pick, I'm going to go with the Brazilian.
All right, so am I. I too am going with the Brazilian for exactly what you said. Just strength of potential competition is really what I'm going with. Also, an undefeated record does not hurt. And what you were saying about this other guy going up against a lot of people who probably are not actually fighters is what really is that signals to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
All right, well then I guess that is what we got for this thing. So take it all. Let us know who you thought had the better observations coming into this one. And if you would like to watch these fights along with either of us, we will be on our individual watch alongs for this card. Of course, this is an early card, by the way, just so that you're aware. This thing starts at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be aware if you're going to come around for the prelims, early day on Saturday. But I will be watching at 9 a.m. YouTube.com/@YamaShow is where you can find me. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they will find you.
Absolutely. At 9 a.m. on Saturday is what it sounds like. You will be watching me on youtube.com/@CP Smalls.
Absolutely. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook at Yama Show. Follow your boy, yamashow.com, for all of your merchandise needs for Yama and for last week's fights. Of course, shout out to Maniac for the donation earlier. Thank you very much for that. Very, very cool of you. Appreciate all you guys hanging out for this one. Thank you so much for the active chat, as we always appreciate that as well. We will see you in the next episode of this show next Monday. Everybody, you have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on.